Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Cherry Indie. You know the show. You saw it. Hey, you saw the title. You know the show. You don't even get the full intro. We're gonna be talking about last episode of Mushoku Tensei. So, what happened, Julie? Welcome to the squad, Julie. Welcome to the squad, 6-year-old art slave. Hey. Shout out 6-year-old art slaves. I'm losing it. This is the energy we're gonna have this episode. It's decided. It's been decided. Okay, I'm like losing it. I'm losing it with this show. I'm losing faith in this show. I'm losing faith in these characters. I'm losing faith in any exploration of these themes. Okay, I just am losing it. It is falling from my hands, and I don't even know if I care enough to catch it. Right. And it's at this point where I think to actually like enjoy this show, I have to expend energy as opposed to being energized by the show. Like I think I have to my copium tanks to actually like try to enjoy the show at that point. Like this is where I'm kind of hitting with like this episode 6 and like a couple of these other episodes throughout the show. Yeah, like I'm starting to lose it. I'm telling you this in advance, right? Because I think that's pretty much what this entire like discussion is going to be. It's going to be me getting mad at the show. So if you really like the show and you don't want to see that happen, then I would advise, because I value your time, for you to maybe go to another video, you know, bing, bing. Oh, look at the sidebar. There's a lot of other options, right? Because I don't think it's going to be pretty here. And I'm not planning to be pretty because I'm kind of tired of being all compromising and like trying to be charitable and blah, blah, blah. I'm kind of tired of it. This is the villain arc. The villain arc's beginning, okay? I don't know if I can keep doing this, man. Cause yeah, so that's the warning that like, you know, I would, like you can, like if you want to hate watch this video, go ahead. I think you have better things to do with your time. But hey, it's your time. You choose how to spend it, baby. But yeah, with that out of the way, what is going on? I'm just gonna boom, comments on screen. So Rui Jerd, I miss him. Rudy, we went to buy the art slave. We went to buy Julie because we needed an art slave because Zanoba has been like sitting on his ass at this school for 2 years and doesn't know how to make figurines or like has made any progress in that regard. And so Rudy shows up and is like, you know, like, here you go. This is how you do it. He can't do it because his mana sucks or, you know, whatever. It's really hard to do. So it's like, oh, let's go buy a slave to do it for us. It's like, okay. Yeah. And then, so it's like, that's already like kind of a bra moment. But then I would say that even like almost a bigger bra moment is that Rudy decides, or he like goes up to this 6-year-old slave girl and is like, yo, like, you know, I can tell you're in despair. Like this is like, some of it's his internal thoughts, some of it's actually said. Like, oh, yo, you're in despair. Do you want to die? If so, I'll kill you. You know, like I will assisted suicide you kind of deal if you truly have no will to live or whatever, right? Which I find to be like an extremely flawed thing for him to do. I think that's I cannot defend him for that, and I think like that is like if she said, yeah, I have no will to live anymore, I think he would try to do it, right? I think he would try to kill her. I don't think this was a bluff because like him saying all those things was internal monologue, okay? And he didn't show any apprehension. He literally puts his hand on her throat, you know? I don't think he's bluffing. He's just straight up not bluffing because we see his internal thoughts on the matter. If he was internally thinking like, I need to kickstart her like love for life again, or like I need to like let me like test the boundaries, like see where she's at. If he had any of those internal thoughts, then we could make an argument that he's bluffing or whatever, or maybe he would be bluffing. But guess what? He's not bluffing, okay? He literally in the episode is like, yeah, like I've seen this kind of despair. It sucks. What does he say? Let me look at my own video for a split second. I can't save her by forcing her to do something against her will. He puts his hand up to her throat. I might as well put her out of her misery. That's literally all internal monologue. So I would say that if she said, yes, I wish to die, that he would carry that out. And I view that as a horrible action for him to do. So much so that it's like, I just like that is just amazing to me, right? And so is it like and you can have an argument that like, okay, like that's the point, you know, like he's flawed. This is a flawed action he's taken, blah, blah, blah. In which case we like he's willing to do it, but then we don't actually explore the idea because she says like I'm fine, and then we like walk away with it. So like, why did this get brought up? Like, I'm lacking a kind of exploration of this mentality that he has, because we literally just like it's almost absurd. Like, let me pull up the episode. It's almost absurd to me how we go from the framing. This is the episode. This is the structure of the episode. Fitz, what's good with you? Zonoba sucks at making sculptures. Zonoba, by the way, stalks are in the ground again. I thought that, I'll just go on my Zonoba tangent. I was like, in the OP, he was next to all these statues, right? And I was like, dang, he's actually making some sculptures. Like, look at the guy go. Like, whatever. No. What has he been doing at the school for the last, like, 2 years or whatever? Cranking it? I mean, he's been humping statues. We've seen that much. So, like, I don't know, what are you doing here, man? Like, I know, like, and a couple commenters said, and like, I totally agree that like he's here politically because they were like that. We saw that at the end of like episode like 19 or 20 or whatever, where they just like sent Pax and Zonoba out, because of all the issues going on there. So they sent Zonoba to this school to like get him out of the Dodge. Kind of what happened with Princess Ariel. Yeah, I get that. But Zonoba, how are you taking advantage of this opportunity? You're petting statues and cranking your hog. And by cranking your hog, I mean humping statues, right? Like what? Like, where's that shot? I think we literally just saw it, right? Like, brother, I am prepared to give you everything, and he's straight up, like, what are you doing, bro? But sure, that's just how he goes. But so, yeah, that makes me be like, okay, he's done nothing productive with the last, like, he's kind of like past life Rudius a little bit in that way, where it's like, dude, what are you doing with your life? Like just consuming figurines that other people have made, like, huh? I don't know. But whatever, that's kind of a tangent. I could lay into Zonoba and Zonoba's character. Low-key, don't even think I have to. I think people will be able to understand that, hopefully. If not, I don't know, skill issue. But, so our issue is pretty, I would say, kind of mundane. Where it's like, okay, we have a need that's brought up in the episode where Rudy tries to teach him magic. He is unable to do it, right? That is established in this episode, right? I was kind of I think that he, the figurine making in the way Rudy does it is really difficult, because Rudy is literally, like, an ultra giga savant, because he's literally so OP. And so it's like, okay, well, we can't get Zonoba to, like, follow in those footsteps. But, like, I don't know, like, I'm kind of amazed. Can't we just, like, learn normal sculpting, like, in the way that we kind of tried with the clay thing here? Like, we tried this for, like, 10 minutes, and then, we give up because it's super strength? But, like, it's, like, this, like, I guess that's kind of, like, that kind of makes sense, but it's also crazy that, like, he's never damaged a sculpture before. I feel like he would, like, I would not let him into my museum. He would destroy everything. The little tiny Roxy figurine, wouldn't that be so easy to break? I feel like that doesn't even make sense with his super strength that much. But whatever, okay? I'm just gonna ignore all that, because, you know what, if I blind myself enough, maybe I can enjoy this more. But yeah, okay, so, the problem is introduced in the episode. Zonoba can't make figurines. Okay. Well, we need to figure out how are we going to fix that, right? Because we want to make figurines. Slaves. That's the solution that's brought up, okay? Let's get a slave to do the figurine making for us, right? Let's get a slave to create things that the rich, noble person can just consume to their will, because they want these things, so they're going to just hire a slave to make it for them. It's like, okay, that's crazy, but sure. Sure, whatever. That's introduced in this episode, so it's not like we had some crazy build-up or whatever. And then we go to a slave auction. It's kind of like, whatever. We're getting some scenes. Sophie's, like, talking about, like, ooh, experience, blah, 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 which, I mean, I noticed last episode didn't have much to say on it, of course. Like, cool. Like, Sophie, I mean, what did she say here? Like, oh, like, you have experience or whatever? Oh, yeah, I'm sure you will be too once you gain some experience. And Sophie's like, oh, dang, you got experience or whatever. And so, like, a little bit of jealousy there. Cute, whatever. Don't have much to add. Like, okay. Like she's going to be jealous of Rudy. Or, like, she's into Rudy. We all know this, But, yeah. Then we still have the mundane, the reason we're here is the, in my opinion, pretty mundane reason of, like, we need a slave to do the things that Zonoba can't do. He's been here for, like, a while. We gave it, like, a few days, we give it like a night of attempting it with magic, and then like 20 minutes or however long with sculpting, and then he gives up, and then it's like, okay, let's go buy a slave to do it for us. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. Then it has to be a 6-year-old slave because of the way the mana works. And that's why we're here, right? So the reason I go on the entire spiel is that the reason we're here is rather mundane, which makes it like have a weird contrast for me where it's like we're here for such a mundane reason and then this is such a dark thing that we get introduced to immediately, right? Where it's like, okay, we're kind of here on like a pretty like simple mundane reason of like, okay, we need an art slave. And then we are seeing like this shot of like, oh, look at all these slaves, like this is pretty bad living conditions. So it's like, okay, like here's kind of like the dark side or whatever. But then we completely ignore that dark side and then jump into this entire another thing of Rudy like having this like projection of his own experiences with despair onto the 6-year-old that's enslaved that is going through another form of despair, and I would say is a very distinct and separate from like very distinct from Rudy's experience of despair. I would say that they are very different. In like some way, like they're both in despair, but like the source of that and the context of that is extraordinarily important, right? Which makes the like Rudy's projection very flawed, right? And if that's like, if we want to accept that Rudy's projection is really flawed because he's a flawed character, sure, cool. I also don't know what this is accomplishing much, but yeah. Because like, yeah, we throw out the theme of, what was it? Like, you don't have to want to live, you just have to not want to die. And it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, that's a cute theme. Cool. Not like the build up for it is literally the scene we walked into of like, she's a child slave, we just met her, here's the theme, you know? Like, there's not really much of like a build up to it. It just kind of happens, right? Because Rudy's saying some crazy stuff. And then we immediately cut to dinner, right? And then now we're like naming her and it's like, oh, like now it's like a game, like let's like raise her or whatever. And then we have the shot of like, you know, like teaching her and blah blah blah. So it's like, oh, look how sweet it is now. Look at Rudy. Oh, he's such a family like figure. Like, you know, like, oh, look at him taking care of her. Blah blah blah. But all of this just completely is like doesn't land for me because 10 minutes ago he was willing to put her in the dirt, right? 10 minutes ago he was willing to kill her if she, a 6-year-old, said that she wanted to die. The reason that that's so crazy to me is that like there's a lot of reasons that that's crazy to me. And let me go back to the comments maybe. Does a 6-year-old know what death is? Right? Like, does a 6-year-old have like the understanding of what death is, what like suicide is, the actual like taking your own life, blah blah blah. Does she know what this is? To what degree does she even know what she's talking about? To what degree could we even trust her if she said, yes, I want to die? To what degree could we even trust her? Because I think we can, like, Rudy is willing to kill her there. It's all in his internal monologue. He's not bluffing, okay? Rudy's willing to kill her there if she's willing to accept it. But she, like, for her to accept it, she has no idea what she's accepting because she's 6, right? And you might say, like, oh, what do you mean? Like, 6-year-olds are smart, blah, blah, blah. She's been kept in a cage. She doesn't know freaking the human language. We don't know how much Dwarven language she has. We have, like, zero information on this girl because she literally just got introduced, right? So to immediately be like, okay, do you want to die? I see your situation. I've seen you for like a good solid 30 seconds, maybe a minute. I have been aware of your existence as another person, and I'm willing to kill you. I don't need more context. Are you ready to die? She says yes. Boom. Like that's insane. Okay? You can literally just, like, what? She says she wants to die. Just take her out to dinner. Like, literally, you don't have to just kill her there, you know? Or it's like, you might say, like, well, he wouldn't kill her there because, like, Sophie and Zenova are there. But, like, what would he do? Go buy her, take her out to a field, and then, like, friggin' of mice and men her? Reference. You know? It's just, it's like, to die is as I'm sure, like, this, you know, this is, like, said a lot, is a permanent solution to whatever problem is at hand, right? And when the reason that she's in despair is, I think it's pretty reasonable to say, because she's been enslaved and malnourished and, like, put in horrible living conditions, for the first option to be, let's kill her, or, like, let's, like, ask her if she wants to die and then kill her if she wants to die, is just ludicrous. Because why wouldn't we just, I don't know, buy her and be nice to her for a little bit, see if her mind changes. You think the 6-year-old's mind can change if she's put in a new environment where, like, her impressionable young brain can, like, take in the new environment and be like, dang, maybe there is more to life than being in a cage all day. Because all she knows is being in a cage. Like, of course she's going to be in despair, right? But that doesn't mean that she knows what life is enough, especially as a 6-year-old, to be able to consent to death reasonably, right? Like even if, dude, the thing is, even if she did know, like, even if she wasn't a slave, her being 6 immediately destroys the option of assisted suicide for me. Like, because, like, we can make it in the real world, right? Assisted suicide, like, because I've had this conversation before of like, oh, like, how ethical is that? Is that a good idea? Would that be good in suicide or in society or whatever? And like an example or like a analogy that could come to mind is like the suicide booth from Futurama, which is like literally there's booths on the street and you just walk in, give them like $1 and then it kills you. Like, would that be a good idea to have in society, that anybody can just walk into the booth and just ice themselves, right? And I would and what I've heard before is like some people say yes, but like usually there's a lot of stipulations involved before like that kind of, like in people's arguments. Like I've heard like, okay, like I think assisted suicide is reasonable, but you need to, like, this person would, like, let's say, need to talk to a therapist for X amount of time so that the therapist can, like, confirm them as, as able to make that decision, or, like, a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever the term or whatever, or that, like, they need to be, like, going through, like, some sort of depression or, like, long-term ailment for long enough that then blah, blah, blah. Like, there's usually so many stipulations, and one of the stipulations that I think I'm pretty comfortable with is being older than 6, right? How much older? Good question. I don't know if I would put it at 18, 20, 30. I don't freaking know. But 6 is just crazy. That's way too young. You have, like, she has no idea how the world, like, I don't know. What does she even know? Does she know what the word death means? To what degree? She doesn't know human. She's been in a cage all along. Has she seen people die? Would that be the argument of, like, oh, she's seen people die, so, like, of course she knows exactly what death is and what it entails, especially when she's able to make the decision. Like, no, I wouldn't say so. And then the thing is, we're just making baseless assumptions on what she does and doesn't know, because guess what? We just met her. We don't know squat about this character. We literally learn of, like, the whole, we literally didn't even ask her name before we asked for her to consent to suicide. We figured out her name after the fact. That is crazy. That is crazy, man. Like, no build up to this very serious, intense theme, which completely kneecaps any thematic idea for me. Of like, oh, like, you want to have the thematic idea of like, like, wanting to live isn't necessary, you just have to not want to die. Like, that was kind of like the line. Like, okay, you want to have that idea? Sure, I'm down. It's a good, like, I like the idea. I like the idea, but the manner and the execution of it, I found to be bad. I did not like the execution of it. I thought it was poorly executed, because Rudy's projection, like let me go back to the episode. Oh man, I'm telling you the villain arc. I'm telling you, this guy sucks at selling things. You really think he's Santa Claus with the fit too, like this thing of, he's like, yo, you should be our art slave, right? There's something we'd like us to do for you, or you to do for us. Which is just like, this is so, I feel so bad for this girl. What are you, about to hit her with something? Also, Sylphie, shout out again for Sylphie for freaking healing her right away. Thank you, Sylphie, bro. Sylphie wasn't even around with the Ruby Jerd, like, let's deal with the slavery. I kind of got off at that point. Should I go back to that point? Yeah, the thing, like, okay, let's talk about the difference between freaking, what do I want to talk about? There's so much to talk about because this is so, and the show doesn't talk about any of it because the show literally, it's like a 3-minute scene and then we go to lunchtime, dinner time. Like, what? Like, what? No, let's just continue with this. So the way this is framed is kind of nuts to me as well. Where it's like, Zenoba's like, what's the issue, Rudy? Master, even. What's the issue, Master? What in your great wisdom can you tell us, right? And Rudy says she's in despair. She has the hopeless look of someone who longs for death, right? And then it's like, oh, and then he's almost like, oh, dang, like, you know this because you've seen people like this before, you know? And he's like, yep, I've seen it countless times, or, yeah. Like, this, to me, could, like, if this was a different situation, then what we could have had here is something really interesting of, like, a Rudy senses the despair in someone, that other people might not be able to sense as well because he's been through that despair before, right? I feel like that could be a really cool thing to explore, right? And so it'd be like, I feel like a way better way to approach the theme that was put here would be something like new student in the school, right? We meet one of the other students in the school. Rudy can tell that this person is in despair because Rudy's been there, especially it parallels his his old life with like he was super like messed up because of his school experience largely, right? And so him seeing that in somebody else and like being able to kind of cut through any like masks or layers because he's been there, done that, would be like, oh dang, his own negative experiences he's been able to use as a way to empathize with somebody else and like see into someone else's soul a bit better, right? That I feel like that could have been so cool, right? And I almost feel like the show's trying to do that a little bit here, where Zenoba's like, what's the issue? And then Rudy explains, oh, she's in despair. Like as if he's like able to like diagnose her in a way that Zenoba can't or something, right? But why that doesn't work at all is because of course she's in despair. She's a 6-year-old enslaved girl. Like it doesn't like anybody with any emotional intelligence would say that she's in despair, right? Like you think like anyone like, so it doesn't tell us anything about Rudy for him to be able to see this in her, because this seeing it in her is literally like a DC3 check. Like it just is so plain as day. There is no nuance, layers, blah, blah, blah. It's literally, she's in despair. We all know why she's in despair. We're literally seeing her living condition that's put her in despair. She literally was yanked around in the cage. Sophie had to heal her, right? Like there is no doubt in anyone's mind that she's in despair. And so like, of course, like obviously. And so what I feel like could have been a cool way to like show Rudy being able to empathize with people or something doesn't say anything because it's so painfully obvious, right? And it's like, okay. What if we say the show's not trying to say that? Sure. I would say missed opportunity, but let's move past it. Sure. He looks in her eyes. My eyes used to look the same way, and he projects his own how he's looked in his own eyes before, like in a mirror or whatever. But he projects how his experience of despair onto her, right? He's literally saying like, I'm looking at her. It's just like me. This is what I was. I wanted to give up on everything. And then what's your next words? Yeah, do you want to die? And he puts his hand up to her throat, which is like, dang, bro. In a hole with no way to ever dig out. I know that feeling. Yeah, blah, 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 right? The thing that makes that fall flat for me, the thing that makes this like this connection, because this like I think is attempting to be a really like personal, intimate, dark connection between Rudy and Julie, right? But it falls pretty flat to me because the connection is built on projection and assumption that isn't the case, right? And so like him saying in a hole with no way out, like his lived experience of him in despair because he, intentional, his mom comes to his door and knocks. It's like, yo, like, we're inviting you to do something, like, come eat this food, whatever. And him saying, no, buzz off, blah, blah, blah. It's in a lot of those ways, and he would agree, like, it was self-imposed. Like, he wasted his life. He made the choices constantly that wasted his life away. In those feelings of shame, which also, it's like, it's because of shame, it's because of all these things for Rudy, right? For her, it's not self-imposed or anything, right? It's completely externally forced on her. So the way to cure a self-imposed despair and the way to cure an external despair, I would say, are very different. And so this connection of a self-imposed despair versus an external despair, and that's like being it's not completely self-imposed for Rudy because there were external factors, but it's so far from like this enslaving situation that connection falters for me, right? And then it goes from being like a personal connection that like a beautiful theme can shine through. It goes from being that into Rudy is making a very flawed projection because he's a flawed person because he's effed up. Poor guy, like I feel for him, I guess, but that's like what it just kind of becomes, right? And like, cause like, man, just imagine if he actually ended it all for her. If he bought her, if he went out of his way to spend his money to buy her to kill her because he believes the 6-year-old when she says, I want to die. That would have been such an insane thing to me. That would have been so incredibly insane to me. Like this line of like, I can't bring salvation to her life. Like, let me go back to the comments. Slavery. Some of this. Was it here? Yeah, so let me just read some of this. Usually, like, the thing is, I haven't watched other isekai stories with slavery, okay? So, like that, like, yeah, like, that doesn't, like, make a connection for me. I don't watch that much anime, to be fair, okay? Like, I'm gonna throw it out there, okay? I'm not a full giga weeb, you know? And that's, you know, if you're a full giga weeb, live your truth, but, yeah. Some, like, self-righteous nonsense, blah, blah, blah. I can't even see it as, like, that nuance, because it's, like, we get 3 minutes in the scene of slavery, and then we just buy her, and he's like, oh, eat up, now you're our slave. Like, I don't feel much nuance from the situation, right? Or, like, effective like, it almost feels like it's attempting to be nuanced, but it's, like, kind of, like, fumbling it for me. Like, write this. Especially with his interaction with Julie, it's so easy to think that just buying her would save her, and I feel like you fell into this trap so much yourself. There's so much more to saving someone than that. Now, about that look in her eyes. No, wait, there was a reply one. No, this isn't what I was looking for. I'll find it. I'm not cutting any of this out. Oh, it's right here. Of, like, kind of this. There's so much more to actually saving, or like this. I wish I could believe that anyone and anything can be magically saved by doing some small gesture, like in this case, buying her and providing considerably better living standards to her. But there's so much more to actually saving someone than that, so I sadly don't share your view and consider it very shallow. And it's talking, like, this is replies, right? There's a lot more context here. I very much sympathize with this comment, by the way. I do very much sympathize with this. And, yeah. Like, this is, I think, the risk that Mushoku Tensei's running into, and I'm starting to, like, you know, feel a little bit. But yeah, the point of there's so much more to saving someone than just like first, okay, let me just disagree with this point of like, I wish I could believe that anyone and everything can be magically by doing some small gesture like buying her and providing considerably better living standards. I wouldn't not consider that at all a small gesture. I would say that changing her situation from being malnourished in a cage into being well-fed and like educated is an incredibly large gesture and could provoke incredibly large change because it's literally changing her entire environment, right? Like, it'd be the same thing of like it would be a pretty crazy change if you got put in a cage and fed freaking carrots your entire life. Like, that would probably cause a very large change in how you are mentally, right? So doing the opposite and saving someone from that, I would say would cause a very large change. And now you're saying there's more to saving someone than just that. I agree. Yes. But guess what? Jumping to like let's kill you if in this moment you claim you want to die. Jumping to that permanent solution is way too extreme when we know nothing about her, right? This point of like let me go back to the actual big comment here. I think you said thirsty horse. Yeah. This thing, right? So Julie, okay, yeah. So, this. Rudy deeply regrets continuing to live for so long in his previous life and wishes he hadn't, which is why he has this particular point of view and offers to save Julie from the same regret and suffering that he experienced. So, already, this doesn't work because the same regret and suffering, what is Julie supposed to regret that she got enslaved, like that she got sold into slavery? Like, there's nothing for her to regret because she didn't do anything wrong because she's a 6-year-old girl that just got hoed, you know? Suffering, sure, like, yes, and, like, they both suffered, and, like, I don't want to, like, start, like, saying, like, oh, one suffered more than the other or whatever, because that's so subjective and hard to rank and kind of pointless in a lot of ways, but, like, one has regret. Julie, what is she supposed to, like, I guess you could say her regretting being alive? You know, like, kind of, if she truly does not wish to continue in the slightest, that is. So, like, yeah, this point, I've already said before, we can't trust the 6-year-old when we just met her and don't even know her name, don't know anything about her, to wish to continue on or not wish to continue on, to actually take her words with full weight, okay? Like, that, we can't do that. That's completely unreasonable. Only after Julie shows some bare minimum commitment, Rudy immediately acknowledges that she can actually be saved and to help her and fully commit to it. Like, why does she have to have this bare minimum commitment in her darkest moment? Right? Why can't we give her a lighter moment and then ask, okay, now that you know that there are lighter moments in life, how do you feel about it? Why do we just immediately jump to, like, you can die here, you know? Rudy immediately acknowledges that she can actually be saved and decides to help her and blah, blah, blah. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Like, the thing with this, too, like, this analogy doesn't even work for me completely because, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. She, as the horse, I don't even know if she knows what water is that well, right? She's definitely not at the water, as she hasn't been led to the water. I think that if we led her to the water, right, if we gave her those better living conditions, even if she claims she wasn't willing to drink it or wanting to drink it, I think when she actually got there's a reasonable chance, I'm not saying guaranteed, there's a reasonable chance that she would change her mind and want to drink the water, right? There's a reasonable chance that she'd be like, dang, I've lived my entire life in a cage and this sucks. But now, I'm being chilling. I got people being nice to me, I'm being fed yummy food, I'm being educated, this is great, I think that's a reasonable chance, right? And it's not going to be like an instant flicky, like, oh, wow, all of a sudden she's happy. Like, there's a lot of trauma that needs to be, like, parsed through and dealt with and et cetera. But to immediately just consider it a lost cause because of, one thing she might say is unfathomable to me, right? Yeah, and I'm not saying, like, slave girl hero pog, like, I tried not to, like, go super deep into this because it's so, like, I don't know exactly what I said. I just feel like I was bewildered. It was just like, what am I even watching? Is kind of what my impression was, which is why, like, okay, I'll go into it now. So, like, what was I saying? I don't know. This is just driving me crazy. I'm getting driven crazy here. But yeah, so in those ways, or, like, okay, like, let me go into this, like, this hypothetical, right? If Rudy's willing to buy her, like, because, like, these are a couple of the options, right? We could have Rudy not do anything, right? Where he just sees this, says, that sucks, guess, like, but, like, we're not going to buy you, like, I'm not going to go out of my way to help you, we'll just ignore you. That would kind of hurt. That wouldn't be great, but, like, what, is he supposed to save every single person? You can't expect that of him. But also, if he's just, like, he's rich, he's a noble. How rich is he? I actually don't know how much money he has. But, like, as a noble with a lot of power, for him to not help people that he has the power to help is kind of, but, like, whatever. Like, I won't dig into that super hard, I don't expect him to go, like, overthrow society, and I've never claimed that. And so y'all can stop bringing that up, okay? Y'all have literally already freaking brought up, where was it? Y'all have already, like, brought up the idea before slavery even got even put in to, like, try to, like, I know what y'all are doing here. Like, y'all, like, should he be trying to single-handle abolish polygamy, slavery, monarchy? Like, I was like, no, like, that's unreasonable. And now that the situation in which that argument might be applied is coming up, people are throwing it back out. Like, y'all are trying to get me back then, and you're trying to get me now. You're trying to get me when I didn't have context, and when I got context. Get me is not quite the right term. Like, I don't mean that in the way of, like, you're out to get me, but, like, yeah. What am I saying? What's going on? Yeah, okay, no, the point that I'm going to, the different options that Rudy has. Doesn't do anything, sure, whatever, put that aside. He could go out of his way to buy her, and then kill her, if she satisfies his criteria for, like, willingness to die, right? And that would be him. I think he would be thinking he's doing a good action, right? Because he's going out of his way to, like, it's like a charitable thing to buy. Like, he gets nothing from it, like, no utility from that, right? So it would be in his mind a charitable thing to buy her to kill her. But, like, what if, just because the alternative, one of the other alternatives, so, like, that's one alternative, let's say that. One of the other alternatives would be, like, and this I think one that people are saying is, like, unreasonable to put it on him, which I think is kind of fair, where you would say, like, okay, Rudy, why don't you just buy her and take care of her for the rest of your life until she's ready? A lot of people would be like, bro, that's crazy. Like, you can't expect that out of him. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of fair, like, it is a huge responsibility to buy someone and fully raise them. I mean, he straight up would be adopting somebody and dedicating his life to, like, a large amount of his time and life to that. I'm not going to expect that out of him. But what about buying her? Like, if you're willing to buy her to kill her, what about buying her and sending her back to her family? And you're saying, no, her family sold her into slavery. What about the rest of her freaking dwarven clan? Family, friends? Extended family? Or does she got any? I mean, because I'll go back to the episode. And this is after we're already throughout the I'm willing to kill you offer, right? So it's like, okay, this would have been nice if we actually, like, got to know her before we attempted that. Like, it'd be so different if, like, we bought her, tried to help her out, and she was still super depressed, and then he threw out the offer. Then it would be, like, more reasonable, even if still kind of insane. But for it to be the first thing is crazy too, right? Because like when we actually pry at all into her history, she says, like, she literally just doxes herself. Child of Bazaar of the Holy Steel of the freaking Shadow Light Empire, and Latilia of the beautiful Snow Ridge, right? That sounds like something we could track down, is it not? So like, if you're willing to go out of your way to buy her to kill her, then what about going out of your way to buy her to send her back to her family? So like, you're basically cleared her debt in that sense, right? She was used to pay off the debt, send her back. Like, that doesn't cross our mind. We don't consider that at all because we're just jumping to extremes. And like, that might not even be great because like they might just sell her back into slavery, right? Or whatnot. Like, we don't know the situation. But that's exactly the thing. We don't know the situation. And so like, to be pulling out a permanent solution of like, you know, bang, 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 pulling out a permanent solution like that is like ludicrous, right? Because we have no context. And I think Rudy thinks that he has like a lot more context than he does because he relates like with the look of despair. But I would say that that's him projecting in a way that is not reasonable, right? Which again, like if you agree with that, then we're on, like, we agree with each other in that sense, right? Like that Rudy is like, that this is a very flawed action, but I'm trying to underline how flawed this is, right? The action of Rudy. Yeah. So that's cool. I don't know, like that doesn't even come to our mind. I think this is completely insane to like, the option that he poses is completely insane to me, right? Let me go back to the comments. Because there's like more people are saying stuff on that. Because yeah, okay, like this. Like the different reasons people, because this is a distinction. Like earlier I was talking about the Ruijerd stuff and how like, well, I don't know, I've done a few takes of this intro. I was earlier maybe talking about like the Ruijerd stuff and how like we go through all that time with Ruijerd, you know, Gies is so happy that he saved, like, everybody's, like, so thankful to Rudy for, like, helping the village, for, like, saving the girls and, like, all that kind of stuff. Rudy even, like, we see a shot of him, like, blushing and being all, like really feeling that, like, response from people and really feeling those thanks that he's given. But at the end of the day, like, none of that actually lasts to anything, like, longer lasting or, internalized, right? Like, and another comment kind of talks about that, of like this thing. Rudius never helped the Beast Girls because of the goodness of his heart. He did it just to improve the Dead End reputation. He was simply using them to make the Spirit Tribe look good. The crazy thing to me is that afterwards, when Gies and everybody's thanking him, and he like has an emotional response to that where he like flushes and seems to like really kind of take that to heart, he doesn't like, that doesn't cause any change down the line, where it's not like he's more empathetic for slaves or people that could be sold into slavery afterwards because he walks into this slave place and literally buys one, you know. I feel like he's the only like empathy, the empathetic bridge that he's putting out with Julie is the despair as opposed to anything to do with the slavery, where we had an entire arc on slavery and him being emotionally and like socially rewarded for freeing slaves, but that didn't actually lead to him, like his emotional response to that feels like it actually didn't lead anywhere, like he actually didn't give a shit, you know. In the moment, I guess it felt good to get thanked, but it didn't lead to him like internalizing anything. So, I mean, that feels like a waste where it's like, okay, like why are we in a slave place again? Like, why is it slaves? You know, like, just because, I mean, the reason we're here was literally because Zenoba just sucks, which was just written into the episode. It's not like we had this coming in, like, the narrative, like, forced us here. I feel like the narrative was made to put us into slave place. Yeah. And like, so yeah, back to this. The different, because like some people might say, okay, like let's distinguish this slavery that you're talking about, you know, with like Ruijerd and nonsense. Like, bro, that was kidnapping people for slavery. That was illegal. This is all legal. There's a big difference there. It's like, okay, like I think to a degree that's fair. Rudy is still like willing to like that's kind of fair. The thing though is like this. Okay, so like these are the different factors of slavery. People sell themselves or their family members into slavery to pay off their own debts. You can be forced into slavery for committing certain crimes. You can just volunteer into it in hopes of a better life, such as the soldier slaves we see on display. First off, the 6-year-old girl did not do any of these. She did not sell herself into slavery. She didn't do a crime and get forced into it. She was sold into slavery by a family member, which, you know, is not like, you know, it's not like we can say like, oh, you sold yourself into this 6-year-old girl, therefore it's better, you know, or anything like that. Because like she did, I mean, she got hoed by her family, right? Because her family was in a bunch of debt. Which leads me to like, okay, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's good, you know? And I know all Rudy really gives a shit about is like just living a life that he finds personally like fulfilling or whatever, which I think as a like a main character motive, I am not liking. I'm finding it to be like selfish and not lead and like reactive as opposed to actually him taking like a lot of interesting actions. Like, dude, his just the entire show is just things happen, bro. Literally, the turning point formula is he's just trying to live a life and like self-fulfill, but then an issue just comes out of nowhere and blindsides him. Or like all the contrivances. I have my huge contrivance list, which is that same kind of thing where, oh, he's just trying to live life at the school. Panties rain from the sky. Ho him, ho him. The world literally bends itself to ho him, it feels like. Like, that feels unnatural and contrived. The definition of contrived is not natural, right? Not naturally occurring. That's how the show feels to me. It does not feel like naturally done because like he'll just get hoed randomly and literally, and that's like, and it's the coincidence contrivance thing is like almost part of the formula with the turning point stuff. And I think the turning point thing isn't inherently bad, but when you parallel it to everything, like so many things just coincidentally happening constantly, like it doesn't look great, and I could read my full contrivance list again if y'all wanted me to. Or like even Man God as an entire character and as like a plot device. Like he's literally just a plot device to get Rudy to like do things, right? Instead of Rudy making decisions, Man God makes them for him and tells him the right thing to do, and then he just carries it out. That's kind of lame, Like what? Like Rudy can be like if Rudy makes a decision, then I would be intrigued to follow it through. It's like, okay, let's see what this tells us about Rudy, but Man God's just making him for him, I guess, like, he wants his dick fixed, and I guess that's, like, a motive, right? But it tells us that he still, like, wants sex back, which is like, okay, well, I guess, like, your time with Eris, it's like, oh, you were looking for sex, but it hoed you? I guess we're just gonna try to get our sex back again or something. And that's kind of being reductive, I'll be real, but, yeah, back to the points with slavery, though. Back to the thing with slavery. Oh, my goodness. Guys. Back to the thing with slavery. What are the conditions that people are in so much debt that they have to sell themselves into slavery, right? Because I'd imagine most people don't exactly want to be a slave. I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to say, right? I would imagine that people are hit with the situation where it's like, dang, I owe a ton of money. I like kind of have to, I'm either like homeless on the streets and maybe even in debt on the streets, or I'm a slave. Like, well, I guess I kind of have to be a slave. I wonder what the like social situation is, like the status of the civilization is that people are having to sell themselves into slavery to settle their debts. Like, do you think the debts are being put on them fairly? Do you think that like, I don't know, maybe the Slavers Guild is working with the freaking debt collecting guild, and there's a bunch of loan sharks out there that are like causing unfair debts to be settled on people, which forces them into slavery so that the enslavers can like keep their business going? I think that's totally could be happening, Which would be like, wow, that sucks for them. But a good thing Rudy got born a freaking rich and really powerful noble, so he doesn't have to give a shit. He just gets it handed to him, so it's like, bet. You can be forced into slavery for committing certain crimes. I mean, yeah, that's separate. But yeah, like the societal like the societal precursors to people having to put themselves into slavery, I would say are like, would show that like the people selling themselves into slavery isn't something that they're just doing because they like made a bad financial decision. Like people don't deserve to go in slavery because they have debt. I feel like a lot of it, like most likely that would be the case, and if it's not the case, I feel like it'd be kind of crazy, right? But we don't actually explore any of this in the show, right? So it's like, who actually knows what's going on with the economics? I don't know. I mean, even this context is just light novel specific, right? And again, well, right, yeah, because when adventuring with Soldad, blah, blah, blah. And that's another thing, like, bro, I'm judging the anime with all the cut stuff. That's what I'm judging. I'm not judging the light novel because guess what? I haven't read it, but yeah. So just in terms of that, it's just, I would say that there's a lot of like, pretty spooky things going on behind the curtain that is going on. Which would be part of like, okay, if Rudy's partaking in the system of slavery through Zenoba, through all this stuff, then he would be part of this formula, blah, blah, blah. And then on that, I literally, because I brought that up, and like there's a comment here This, I literally brought this up already. I brought this up in the video, like, I don't know where. I mean, it was a long video, so I totally get if, like, you didn't watch every 2 minutes 55, or 2 hours 55 minutes of it, sure. But I literally brought that point up of, like, the example I gave was, oh, I eat a McChicken, and I'm ignoring all the, I said cows instead of chickens, but I said, like, my point was, like, oh, like, I go to the McDonald's, I eat a McChicken, I'm consuming the McChicken, I'm ignoring the freaking horrible factory farming conditions that caused this meat to be, all these baby chickens getting ground up, right? I am ignoring all of that because I got my tasty McChicken, right? And that's the same point here, right? Where, like, a lot of the stuff in modern day, you know, capitalism is produced in, like, you know, not great situations. You know, the freaking, like, batteries in my phone or whatever, like, I think have, like, a lot of that kind of stuff there. I'm well aware of that, and I bring that up because I think it's a reasonable thing to bring up. The difference is that, like, the reason people in the real world, I think, are comfortable with doing this a lot of the time is because it's so easy to avert your eyes. It's so easy to ignore because guess what? When I'm going to McDonald's and buying a McChicken, I'm not seeing a bunch of baby chickens getting ground up, right? When I buy a phone, Apple is like, or like, I got an iPhone, right? I go to Apple and I buy my phone. It's like shiny, sleek, like, ooh, you know, it's an entire experience unboxing it, like, ooh, like you feel so posh and stuff. Like the last thing on your mind is the horrible conditions that went into it, right? Because it's so far away, right? Like you don't even have to think about it. A lot of people aren't even aware of that kind of thing because of how distant it is, how abstracted is the word I used in the video, how abstracted it is, which leads people to be able to rationalize their way to like being part of those formulas, right? Which is that, I mean, that's a huge that's a huge thing in modern day, right? That is not applicable to the Rudy situation very well because Rudy doesn't have any of that abstraction. Rudy is literally seeing the horrible conditions the slave girl is in, seeing the horrible conditions of slavery, has previously been part of the illegal dark underbelly of slavery, and that, but like he's well aware of all these things, okay? So like this point doesn't apply to like the Rudy thing, because what I'm talking about is Rudy not giving a shit. I'm not, like, that's my point. That's what bothered me largely so much, is that he walks into this thing, casts maybe a slight look of pity, and that's all. So it's like, bro, didn't we have an arc about this? Like, we're just, you don't give a shit? Ruby Jerd would probably slap you, would he not? Ruby Jerd would be like, oh man, you just let them do that? You know, and you might say, oh, Ruby Jerd's kind of like a crazy exception because he's like a freaking outlaw, whatever. Like this, and I think that's fair. You know, he's an outcast who enforces their own personal justice, shunned by a city. Rudy has decided to live within this society and go along with Fitz's recommendation and Zenoba's wishes. Whether it's morally right or wrong is up to the viewer to decide. Because Rudy doesn't care. Rudy's just trying to live, man. Which is just like, I don't want to follow a guy that has no opinions, you know. But if someone were to self-int themselves... Yeah, they would have to be ready to sacrifice their life for the lives of many others in order to revolutionize their world. That's not even the extreme that I'm like that's needing to be jumped to here. Because like what I would have appreciated, and I think it was cut from the light novel, would be like Rudy being like, "Dang, this sucks," like anything like that, or like, "Dang, like." So that like, dang, maybe like I wonder if like what Ruby Jerd would think of this, or like something like anything. I think that would have enhanced that would have like taken the episode from negative to less negative for me, right? Like this. But even this is like, also I literally can't do anything about it anyways. I'm just one guy. You can't save everyone, but you can save some people. You're literally the most talented magician in the entire world, low key. Okay? If you actually cared, you could cause a lot of good change. You don't care though. And I guess that's fine because okay. But like, then what are we doing, bro? We're just like sitting around watching him like try to live a life and getting hoed every once in a while, and I'm supposed to like sympathize with the guy? Like, he's so hard to sympathize with. He's so hard to root for, bro. He's so hard to root for. Like it doesn't help that like Zenoba's his best man right now. I ain't rooting for Zenoba either. I'll go to Zenoba in a minute. Oh yeah, also this, like, is this really the line we're drawing? I don't understand why this is the crazy line. Like, who the F would force a literal child to make... Well, let me get the full thing. I don't know where you get the idea that Julie would be making erotic figures for Zenoba to use. That is a crazy assumption to make. Even though they did show Zenoba getting on with the sculpture, he has an actual genuine interest in figurines first and foremost. Also, who the F would force a literal child to make something like that? Who would force a little child to make something like that? I wouldn't put it past Rudy. I wouldn't put it past Zenoba. I wouldn't put it past this world. I wouldn't put it past this story. I don't think this is as crazy a thing as you are saying it is. Like half the scenes that Zenoba has been in has been erotically charged with figurines. Okay, like he's literally introduced Kuming over taking the clothes off of a Roxy figurine, right? And you could say like he's admiring the craftsmanship or whatever, but it is still erotically based, right? And then we see in the same episode that all of this is introduced and dealt with, him naked, clambering on a figurine, saying what, like, I'll give everything to you. And so it's like, okay, like if the probably the majority of scenes that have to do with figurines that Zenoba has been in have been erotic. So when all of a sudden we're pulling a child in to make figurines for Zenoba, for them to be erotic would make a lot of logical sense, right? For them to be eventually erotically based, even if that's not the first step, like that's not an unreasonable assumption to make, I would say, right? It is definitely me going for and I was trolling a bit when I was saying it, where I was like, you know what's really crazy? That this is kind of what's going on. But it's not that crazy, and I don't see how this is the line that's being drawn, right? Like, how is, like, okay, so we can, buying slaves, totally fine, right? Buying slaves for the rich noble guy to get stuff, and so it's like all slave labor. Sure, that's fine. We've accepted that. Telling the child that I will kill you if you want me to kill you, totally fine. Having the enslaved child make a lewd thing specifically, okay, now that's the issue. Like, I don't see why that's, like, I don't know. And especially with this show, where, like, there's been, like, to have a child making, a somewhat erotic statuette would not even be, like, the top 3 sus things sexually from the show. So, like, that to me is not, like, I don't see why that's, like, a big thing there. Their entire goal is completely above board creation of figurines for the purpose of both appeasing Zenoba, appeasing in what way? Including erotic, and selling commercially in the future. Rudy's idea that was cut, although this was elaborated on a lot more in the light novel and completely cut in the anime, it's still wild to make the worst assumption on the situation MIO. So it was completely cut, right? So like that already is like, okay, we have like, I would use that as like another piece of evidence why it's like not that crazy. Worst possible assumption? Oh, we can get a lot worse. You know, lewd statuettes is just the start, brother. I mean, or do you think I'm talking about some sort of like masturbatory device? Because that's not even what I was thinking at that time. I was just thinking like, hey, Julie, make this one have big honkers. That's kind of, you know. But like, yeah, I mean, F it. We can make way worse assumptions if we want to. Okay, like worst is, I would say, too strong. I don't love how the slavery scene was shown. I actually dislike it for the things I've mentioned. I don't like. There's no like we're here for 3 minutes and nobody has anything to say about the slavery. So like, I don't see the nuance. You know, the saving thing I've already went over of like, and we could even talk about this, because I can actually read this in full context. Sorry, this has been so scatterbrained. I'm literally just like I could have written this all on my whiteboard. I don't know if it was worth it. I am like losing my motivation in a lot of ways. It's hurting me, bro. It's like, hey, it's a struggle. It's a struggle out here right now. That's why I got the comfort blanket, bro. It's a comfort blanket episode. It's Rudy completely okay, wait. Especially his interaction with Julie. It's so easy to think, blah, blah, blah. There's so much more to saving someone than that. Making the assumption on a 6-year-old's crazy to me. Now, about the look in her eyes, while I understand why you're going for the she's underage and doesn't know anything argument, which is fair, I suppose, but it's not even about that at all. It's about Rudy completely understanding the situation fully due to personal experience. Like, I disagree with that entirely. Because he doesn't understand the situation. Because he hasn't been a slave, right? And that doesn't mean that his despair isn't, like, somehow useful and, like, empathy for her. Because I think it is. But, like, the context is so extraordinarily different that we can't just ignore it, right? We can't just say it's not about that. We can't just say, like, okay, like, her being underage, don't worry about that. Her ability to actually consent to that, don't worry about that. Her being a slave and, like, the reasons that she's in despair, don't worry about that. Like, then why are these in the show, right? Like, we could have, if we wanted to make it, like, about this thing of, like, the option of choosing what to do, then don't make it a slave 6-year-old girl, right? Like, you can do so many other options. You could, like, you didn't have to jump to, like, some crazy, weird controversial thing. Like, it feels like kind of shock value, you know? Like, this show I feel like the show tries to be controversial constantly. So, like, everyone's, like, sexy and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. and it feels non-realistic in a lot of ways, and it's just driving me crazy. Well, non-realistic I mean that more in the contrivance angle, not in the like sequence of events angle, right? Because you want to say, oh, Rudy making the decision is in character for Rudy, fine. I don't like the character Rudy. I don't like Rudy as a character very much. Because I can see like making a character realistic. I would say a lot of characters in a lot of stories are realistic. That doesn't mean a lot of characters in a lot of stories are good. Realism and good are not are not 1-to-1. Okay, I would say it's part of the formula, but that's not the entire formula. As the two options are buying her and forcing her not just to do the work that she potentially doesn't want to do, but also forcing her to live. You think she wants to do the figurine work either? Like, but yeah. But also forcing her to live, which she might not have any reason to want to do. Might. That's why, this might is exactly why we can't just jump to a permanent solution. Which she might not have any reason to want to do, and maybe a fate worse than death to most. A fate worse than death? Giving her, like, good living conditions could be a fate worse than death? I mean, maybe it could be, but I think it's worth a shot, you know? And that'd be, like, I still don't, like, if the chances of it being, like, her living, being taken care of by Rudy and gang, like, the chance of that being a fate worse than death for her because of stuff, like, I don't think is close to high enough to warrant, like, mercy killing her. As I've said a lot. Or leaving her there to dive malnutrition on her own. Hey, it's legal though. Rudy don't gotta worry about it because it's legal though. I'm trolling. Giving a third option to essentially mercy kill her is such a surreal scene to me, which shows just how well both the writer and Rudy in this case understand what actual true despair feels like. I mean, and again, I disagree because I don't think Rudy has a freaking insight into her soul because he just met her, you know, like, and she's 6. And so I don't think I would disagree with that completely, right? We don't even know her name. We don't know where she's from. We don't know why when did we get the information of why she was in slavery? We actually might have gotten that she was sold here by her family. When was she sold? Has she been here for 6 months? Has she been here for 5 years? She knows not the human language, but freaking Dwarvish or whatever the hell Rudy speaks to her, which, by the way, nobody else in the room understands. So, like, it's not like we can say that Sylphie was fine with this because Sylphie had no idea what was going on because Rudy was just yapping to the slave girl and everyone was just watching like, I don't speak that, you know? Like, he was completely soloing that encounter. But yeah, like, I would completely disagree with that. That Rudy has that, like, an understanding to the degree that he can make that this decision is viable. I think he has a better understanding than, like, Zenoba, sure, right? Like, he has a better understanding than someone that hasn't been through despair, but that, like, it's not as easy just looking somebody, reading the look in their eyes, and then jumping to a conclusion, you know? Like, I think there's more to understanding a person than just looking at them, right? It's almost like starting introducing a character with, like, something extremely, like, intense like that is kind of an insane thing to do. It reminds me of Eris getting curb stomped, where it's just like, okay, like, that was extreme. Why did yeah, it feels like that again. Like, are you trying to make me, like, care about this character? Like I don't even care that much about Julie that much because I feel like the show's trying too hard, you know? I already talked about this. Yeah, I already talked about this. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I don't think this horse knows what water is, dude. I don't know when the last time this horse is drinking water. You know? Like, the horse has been it's like you're going up to a horse that's been, like, they're like 5 miles away from the nearest oasis in the desert in a cage. You're going up to that horse and being like, the horse has been there for 5 years, by the way. You go up to this horse that's been in this cage for 5 years with no eyesight of water, and you're like, so, you want to drink water? The horse is like, damn, nah, I'm just done. The horse hasn't been able to drink water. The horse has no idea, bro. Like, at least take the horse to the water and let the horse, like, experiment. Don't just trust the 6-year-old horse. Yeah. And, like, I feel like the entire theme and conversation flew over your head a bit here. I think the entire theme and conversation, I think I understood it, and I didn't like it, and so I had nothing to say. That's how I felt it there, and this is me, like, I'm doubling down on, like, my initial impression, right? Because it was just like, bruh. It has nothing to do with children and all about what it means to have a will to live. Then why is she 6? Like, using the she's 6 talking point here will result in a complete dismissal of a truly powerful message. Ignoring the she's 6 talking point removes all the context that's necessary for the message to, like, speak. That's what I would say. Like if I can just throw fucking messages wherever I want, but I don't have to like give context for them that like says something or shows any nuance, but I can just say, fuck it, hey, message, throw in another one, let me introduce another character, message. Like, and I just like, but I like, and I don't care about the context, and because I just dismiss it because the message is cool. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like, ideally, the context of the situation would add to the message, right? Because then it would make it even more powerful, because it's even, it's actually applicable here, as opposed to just being really like being crazy. Yeah, so that's what I have to say on that. I get like, and yeah, what else do I have to say? You are completely yeah, and I already know people are not going to be happy about this. Like, there's going to be people that are going to get mad about this, right? Which is hence the beginning thing in the beginning. It's just, the show's just, I was liking episodes 1, 2, and 3. I liked what they did with freaking Sarah. I was fine with that. Like, I was fine with freaking Soldat. Soldat was cool. They underused him. They freaking got rid of him way too fast. He was too cool. Like, he was so cool, he should have been back. Like, why did we get rid of him that fast? I liked his character. I thought we were like doing some things there, but just thrown in a 3-minute like slave scene out of kind of nowhere. Like, it was introduced, the need of that was introduced like 3 minutes before that, and then just like throw in a theme at the end about something extremely serious like suicide just does not hit for me at all. Like, there was no narrative. They didn't feel like there was narrative buildup at all. Because we just met her. We don't know anything about her situation. So like, how are we supposed to do something with that, right? Yeah, and this is, I think, a small part of the other comment here. Like, yeah, and so it's like the fandom thinks it's, well, I don't like, yeah, like I disagree that it's like profound or well done. I would agree with that point, right? I don't want to like say the reasons why the fandom thinks it's undone, because I don't know the fandom like well enough to say why you think what you think. I don't know why you think what you think, but I think like the point that this was profound and or well done, I would disagree with, right? I think it kneecapped itself through throwing in a bunch of like elements that weren't explored, But yeah, like I think like trying to like bring it into reality, I think is a fair enough play. She's not a victim of her own mind. That's kind of the stuff I was saying earlier. She's a victim of her environment. The logical thing is getting her out of that situation so she can regain the will to live. And then it doesn't even have to be take care of her the rest of your life, you could I don't know, go to freaking, if you really wanted to, we don't know anything about her family. We're jumping to these crazy things. Like, she has an entire clan, Dwarven clan. Would someone accept her back? I would assume so, but we don't talk about it. If in the future she has problems living a normal life, depression, PTSD, which is understandable, is a different issue. Exactly, right? Because that's in the, we require, like jumping into like some sort of assisted suicide thing is not the first thing you do. That's just, it's for a 6-year-old. Instead, it applies the logic of you can't help someone else if they don't want to help themselves to a 6-year-old slave who can't do anything about her situation. It's insane. I agree. His logic only makes sense in situations where people's own minds, blah, blah, blah. And it is like, it's not completely like bunk. Like, I get the point of empathy, but it is not nearly enough to warrant suicide, right? Like, I like, it's like, okay, he's got a little bit of despair knowledge, but suicide is like, it's about as serious as it can get. It's about as final as something can get, So it requires a lot more to actually like be, to actually be like a thing. Be like seriously reasonable in any sense, right? And I mean, some people would, and I, say like suicide's never reasonable and blah, blah, blah. And that's like an entire conversation we can have. But that'd be escaping the bounds of the show, because the show, I don't think is like, it's throwing something at the wall, but it's not actually talking about it, So any discussion I have would be me discussing things separate. Like, I feel like I'm almost running into tangents by even talking about this, because I don't know how much the show actually cares, At least the anime, right? So what he's saying is not completely wrong, but in context it sounds pretentious, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like, I think if we were to, saying that what Rudy's is saying is correct, is, I would say, I would disagree with a lot, right? And then, as opposed for, what's the purpose of this in the media that we're consuming in Mushoku Tensei, I'm not getting, nearly enough payoff. I think with this last episode, I might have gotten negative payoff, I think it damaged my relationship with the show as opposed to adding to it at all. But yeah, like, I mean, that's just been a running theme where it's like we're throwing in a bunch of stuff that like I'm expecting pretty significant payback for to like earn their place, right? You want to throw in crazy sex themes with minors. You want to throw in freaking degeneracy, wasting your life, suicide ideation, suicidal tendencies, slavery. You want to throw in these crazy themes. Like, you better do something with them, or else you're just, why are you throwing them in? Like give them the weight they deserve. Give them the weight they deserve. That's something I've said all along, and this is just another ouch for that. And again, it's not about Rudeus going on a crusade necessarily. You know, that's like jumping to the, that's kind of straw manning a little bit, right? Where it's like you're just jumping to the most extreme and then trying to discount that extreme. I'm not advocating for that. I'm not saying that I want a story where Rudeus is going around crusading and it's changing the world and making it beautiful and blah, 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 blah. But just, can we do something as opposed to have a character that just kind of exists? Things happen to him coincidentally, constantly. Turning points will just happen to him, and then he's kind of just like gets hoed or whatever. Like, passive characters just float around in the wind. Doesn't tell us about the characters, it tells us about the wind. Right? I slap someone in the face, and they have no response. I didn't learn anything about them other than they don't care about being slapped in the face, I guess? Right? But like, then why am I slapping them in the face? Like, why would I write a story about someone getting slapped in the face if they literally is just like, well, I don't give a shit. Like, okay, and? Like, it's like a waste of my time. And then, yeah, I was talking about this earlier. Like, it's part. Like this is not a small... Like, completely changing someone's environment is not a small gesture. That is a very large gesture. Whether you want... Like, you know, whether you're expecting Rudeus to do that, is it, like, a thing? And I would just kind of point it as a, like, well, why is this here if we're not really doing anything with it? Like, if we want to just show Rudy as, like, kind of like a not great guy that just kind of does, like, lives life, and it's just kind of trying to live his self-serving life, you know? Like, okay, I don't like that as a character. I don't find that to be engaging. I have a spoon, bro. I have a spoon. Did I have more to say here? Anyone can rationalize that even if she wants to die now, she's likely to improve dramatically if you get her out of that situation. I would agree. I think that's very reasonable. And it's worth attempting. Like, this likely is worth attempting as opposed to jumping to the suicide. As I've said, right? Yeah. What else do I have to say? So, I mean, that was a lot of that. Let's see. Some of the other things. This is Eris stuff. I don't even know if I want to even think about Eris right now. This point of, like, consistency in characters is important. Like, we should continually, like we need to, like, a point of, oh, well, Rudy's pervy all the time because consistency is important. Like, Elena Lee's is doing sex all the time because we want to see that consistency, right? I mean, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes I think there is value. I think it's overdone, right? Like, Elena Lee's, like, every single episode she's in, she's having sex. Like, there comes a point that's like, I get the point, okay? Like, you don't need to show her just to show her having sex again. I get it. That's what she does. That's what she is. You don't have to keep reminding me, okay? Because it comes to a point that you're not doing it to remind me anything about the character. You're not doing it for consistency. You're doing it just because it's sexy sex, right? Like, you're doing it just for the degenerate appeal, right? It's just overdone. It's just overdone is my point. But that is a I think, an important point, right? You can't just show it once. Though you also kind of can a little bit, where it's like, and like if you show a professional assassin killing someone, and like, we don't have to, like, unless they, like, do we have to we're gonna just forget that they kill people, you know? Like, that establishes that, like, I'm almost thinking of that one girl, what was her name, like, Eagle Eyes or freaking whatever, Night-Eyed Hawk. I mean, she's a professional assassin that attempted to kill Sylphie. Next time she walks in, I'm gonna remember her as a professional assassin. And, like, even if we saw her walking around doing other things, she's still a professional assassin. That's how she was introduced, you know? Like, it's not like every scene she's in needs to be a scene of her professionally killing someone, or that, like, every third scene needs to be that, you know? Especially something as, like, big as, like, killing someone. Like, that's pretty standout, right? And with something as big as, like, you know, watching minors bathe or whatever with, like, Rudeus's case, or, like, very in-your-face, like, sexual stuff with Elena Lee's. Like, I don't need to be constantly reminded that he's a degenerate. Like, I'm well aware. And sometimes it's good. Like, sometimes they're doing stuff, but, like, yeah, just absolutely, like, and they were building up for the Eris thing the entire time. Like, I get that. PAX, I think this is a fun thing. And I even talked about this back when Pax was a thing. There's no clear answer, but there's a popular theory that Pax is a representation of what would become of Rudy if he grew in a different environment. I made that connection too. Like I think I said it. I started with Cliff, where I was like, oh yeah, Cliff could be kind of like he's attached to Eris, which is one of the Rudy love interests, and he's obsessive about his magical prowess. If Rudy was obsessive about his own magical prowess, then he would be pretty similar to Cliff. Like that's a connection I've made before. And then Cliff's applied to Eris, which kind of makes him relevant to Rudy, you know. So it's like, ooh, like that's it's like a foil, right? Like look at this negative aspect of Rudy that he can confront and deal with. And so it's like, okay, let's apply the same thing to Pax. Like Pax, freaking Pax, he's all sexy, annoying, right? Rudy could have become that, right? So it's like, dang, and like we have an entire mini arc there, like a 2-episode there where Rudy runs into Pax. So it's like, oh, Rudy, what do you have to say about like one of your bad endings here? Like you're interacting with your foil, what is this? What are we accomplishing with that? Nothing, because Zenoba does it all. Zenoba contrived, right, with the figurine just being in his grasp, right? Walks in and fixes it for us, right? That serves as a Zenoba character introduction as opposed to actually doing anything with Rudy's character when you have someone that could so easily parallel him in an interesting way. So like I agree that this could be like what Pax could do, but they don't do it in the show, so it feels like a waste. And then this I see as a negative thing. The importance of coincidence is underappreciated. I see the coincidence takes me out of the show because it's constant. You want me to read the contrivance list? Like we run into all of Gilane's family, we go to the Roxy village, the Ruijerd meeting, we get teleported to literally the farthest location in the line. Like Rudy gets teleported as far away as possible so that he goes on the longest journey back. I mean, that's kind of a light thing. Sylphie getting spawned above the boar, like her like we don't actually have to have her like learn how to be a guard or prove herself as a guard or like she doesn't have to take any actions to immerse into the guard culture because she gets it for free because she gets airdropped onto the boar, right? She literally is just trying to cushion her fall and she accidentally kills a boar, and then that is the fundamental start. That is her first impression of a relationship for the entire like crown people there. So it's like that's completely contrived. Like the foundation of these characters' interaction is built on complete coincidence. And it's like that for that's just constant, you know? Fitz dropping the panties. Like, okay, what we want Rudy to have like a parallel to him getting bullied, right? In his past life. He used to get bullied in his past life. Let's have him be bullied in his current life. Let's do something with that, right? Fitz just accidentally butterfingers panties and Rudy just happens to be walking there and then he just happens to catch him. And then when he raises him up and says like, hey, you dropped this, somebody completely misinterprets that after spawning out of the ether, and then he immediately gets surrounded and like verbally attacked for that. Like that scene was not a good scene. That was a bad scene. And when it's being used as like a parallel to his like past like Earth deist freaking bullying, it's like, well, any statement you have there kind of falls flat because the entire scene was just conjured out of nowhere and is like non-natural. It's so unnatural that like I don't even care what theme you're going for that much because the scene's bad, right? You've tainted it. And that's the same thing with Julie, you know. Sarah's just alive in the tree, but everyone else is dead. I mean, I think that was like a thing, like a kind of a light novel diff. But like, why is Sarah just fine? Like that wasn't explained. She just was fine. Apparently that episode was rushed, so whatever. The special class that we're with, like, everyone relates to characters we already know or is a character we already know in the special class, -1, right? Cliff, we already know Cliff. Eris is connected to Cliff. What a coincidence. Freaking Minitona's sister, what are these hoes' names? Linnea and Persina. And Cliff a hoe too, they're all hoes, okay? In a gender thing, okay? Ooh, everyone's a hoe. Linnea and Persina, okay, well they're just, hey, we know them, they're connected to the sisters. Look at that, happenstance it. Oh, Zenoba's here, look at that. Oh, Fitz is here, look at that. I'm sensing a connection here, that like characters will just show back up whenever they want, as opposed, you know, like in swarms too. Yeah, so I find that to be one of the worst parts of the story. That's one of the things that bothers me the most. All we can really do is choose our reaction to that event. Like sometimes, I mean, that is like a part of life, and that's why I said like the turning point formula isn't inherently bad, but when like very substantial amount of like I mean, like Zenoba in the figurine thing, that was like contrived to me as well, and that solved an arc that bothered me back in episode like 18, 19, whatever. When it's solving events out of like kind of nowhere and like causing problems kind of out of nowhere, like in ways that are like so unlikely that it's kind of insane, then the story starts to fall apart, and I don't find that to be good writing. Because if things happen that make sense to happen, and then we see how our characters to respond to that event, like someone walks up and slaps Rudy, and Rudy responds to that event in an interesting way, then that can be really cool and valuable, sure, and that's like a large part of life. I don't see that as what Mushoku Tensei is doing. Yeah, but you'd be surprised. Yes, there are some plans and some predetermined events throughout the story, but you'd be surprised at how much what you see are just reaction to natural events, and that fascinates me. I don't see them as natural. They feel so unnatural to me. And it's just constant. It's just constant to me. So that's me disagreeing, I suppose. What else? Suzanne not interrupting with Soldai is surprisingly accurate if you give it some thought. I didn't get it at first, but if you see the scene a whole couple times, Soldai is a genius of what he did in the conversation. So Soldai, the thing with that even to me was kind of a bit of a bro moment. Soldai walks up to Rudy, looks at his face, and then perfectly says what's wrong with Rudy and insults him and says like, "You're running from your past, dog, and I hate when you're doing that, and you got a mask and blah blah blah." He just walks up and literally says exactly the problem with Rudy, like perfectly gets under his skin, And so it's like, that's kind of a bit of a thing of like, okay, he just figured it out. Like, good on you. Like, Soldot's really good at reading people, I guess. But Soldot came out of nowhere to do that, right? Like, it's like how did he? Why was his guess so accurate? I just have to go with he's that good. Which, I mean, he is based, so I don't like whatever. But that to me is kind of already a little bit tumultuous. And then Suzanne not interrupting, like, why? Like, I don't see how that's connected to him being accurate or being like anything, right? Like, he's saying like, "I hate you, you're a hoe, bling blah, you're running away from your past, you're faking everything, you're like Timothy but worse, And Suzanne's just like, they don't interrupt him. He physically grabs Rudy and nobody cares, right? Like, it's just they're not at his side at all. So I see them not interrupting as like they kind of just are they kind of suck, like that's not a good, like that's them not being like good homies at all, yeah. This thing, why is she in the story? Imagine you have a similar curse and a really long lifespan. How would you adapt? Hiring someone to drag along is an option, but wouldn't that create a long-term relationship? Yeah, it could. Is there a problem with that? Or not? I don't see how that's like, like she can just walk around and have sex with everyone if she wants to. I just like, and it's just and. I feel like I'm constantly asking like comma and question mark. Like add that to like every sentence whenever I make a point on the show. I guess there's some parallel with Roxy episode. Roxy's different from people in her village, and Elena Lee's can't really follow common morale. Here, author uses curse as an explanation, but there are real-world parallels for the situation like Tourette's syndrome and a lot of other things. I just don't see it that well. Like comparing like Tourette's to being cursed that you have to have sex constantly. But yeah, I mean, it also is a thing if they're going somewhere at that. So like, I'm currently annoyed with it, but I know they're cooking, so like hopefully they'll do something with it that'll be worth the annoyance. But yeah, and then one thing, that's not a huge big deal. Aware of that. Slavery stuff. First, Rudy's approach on slavery would have caused magic genocide and solved nothing. What do you mean? You're saying his approach is just to like kill everyone that does slavery? I mean, you'd have to kill everyone. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that Rudy should do the Ruijerd strat. I'm just saying that through interacting with Ruijerd, he didn't internalize anything, which is kind of a bit of a bro moment. It feels like a waste, Rudy's resources are not unlimited. He's not comfortable at all that there are slaves in this world. Like, I'm not sure if I agree with that he's not comfortable at all that there are slaves in the world. He seems to have accepted it largely. I don't think he's happy about it, but, like, he seems comfortable at least. I mean, he's willing to buy one. Or be part of buying one with Zenoba. He's totally willing with that. Yeah, but, like, if he's willing to go out of his way to buy her, why isn't he willing to go out of his way to, like, get her back to her home? Or, like, interact with her at all? Or, like, it's just, yeah. And it's because he's depressed and blah, blah, blah. Like, you can say, like, there are reasons that he is this way, but I've like my interest in his character has just been dropping and dropping and dropping, you know. This I think is like not a kind of a moot point a little bit, where it's like the point of the or of the watching the children bathe scene is that he doesn't get a free pass to like do whatever he wants. Like, I don't know, like that's like, why are we using bathing children to get that point across? You know, like what an extreme and like controversial and kind of unsettling way to bring a point of he's not allowed to do whatever he wants, where I don't like being thanked by the chief, like to jump to the assumption that he can do whatever he wants would be a big jump. And so for them to like curb that and say that he isn't allowed to do whatever he wants is like, okay, but that doesn't, like, I feel like that doesn't, in the weighing, it's like the extremity of the situation of like, okay, watching a bunch of minors bathe and like cooming over it and literally yes smells his sexual arousal is like not at all worth the exposition point of he does not get a free pass. And but then it's like, oh, but look, he's acting in character. It's like, okay. You know? Yeah, like, yeah. If you can write a character to do a lot of things and then they'll be acting in character. Like, him acting in character doesn't all of a sudden make it, like, interesting or dynamic, you know? Talking about that, I don't buy that he would have killed her. It's just because it's his internal dialogue, man. Like, his internal dialogue is resolving himself to end her. To mercy kill her. So, I think he's fully resolved in his mind. Would he have actually done it, like, if push came to shove and she said, yes, kill me, and then, like, he actually had to put his hand up to her throat and, like, and kill her? Would he have been able to do it there? I don't know. But he's definitely not bluffing. He means it when he's saying it, you know? Can he carry it out? Who's to say? Hopefully not, but hey, we don't get to know because she said that she didn't want to, so like any exploration of that is gone. Like, it's kind of crazy too. We could have had this entire thing be just a thought in his head. I feel like that would have been like even better and nuanced or whatever. Where it's just like, instead of it being some crazy like, I just met you, you want to die? Instead of doing something crazy like that, couldn't you just go like, yo, or like in his head he has the thought of like, maybe it's better, like, death would be better than this, comma, maybe I can do something, ... And then it's like an intrusive thought that he kind of, like, lets go of, or, like, a thought that kind of comes in and he considers a little bit and then lets go of. Like, we could have had something like that, and that would have been so much less extreme and insane for the introduction of a character, right? And, like, you know, I feel like that would have been much more in line with the amount of screen time that's even going on with this whole thing. Just, you know, just make it a thought. Like, you don't have to full send this for, like, no reason. Because then you'll say, like, oh, but then he won't... Yeah, because, I mean, he could just look at her and be like, she probably wishes she would die, and then he thinks, like, oh, what, maybe that's better for her. Like, let him think it, but to actually sit down and say, I'm willing to do it, to actually commit to that thought like that, is so insane to me, you know? And it's insane, like, it's not insane in that, like, it's unbelievable for his character. It's just like, bro, like, the guy could be, like, I think it's within the realms of what his character could be to be so different at this point, you know? Like, I believe that he's where he's at, but I also would be so believing if he was, like, better, you know? This is just wearing me down. Like, is it even worth it? I'm losing faith. I mean, I could just super surface level watch the show. Maybe that'd be better. Or, like, because I don't want to, like, just hate watch and tear it apart constantly. But, like, if I feel like if I immerse in it to, like, any substantial amount, like, I feel like I have to, you know? Like, I can't. I have so, you know, I feel like I'm huffing copium by saying it's, like that it's, like, doing crazy things, like, crazy positive things, you know? I feel like I'm huffing copium a lot of the time, you know? Like, having to try so hard. Ugh. Because I've really tried, like, hopefully, like, I've tried to work with the show. I have tried. It's just not cooking for me. It's just not cooking for me. Let's see. Analyzing the OP. Yeah, I mean, the OP was good. It was 45 minutes of my life. But it was 45 minutes for the OP, 15 for the ED. If we put them together, you got your hour. Okay, no, you got your hour. You got your hour. I did quite a bit of meat gazing in the shower myself. I noticed that everyone else did too, just to compare with their own, so it's normal, although nobody would never admit it, and I was the smallest of the group. I'm losing it. Yeah, it's like the series gets off on being weirdly on the line where you always have to discuss and justify one action or other that the main character takes. Yeah, it's like it just gets to the point of like, but why? Like the reasoning for these to occur. I don't. It doesn't have enough payoff, so it feels like it's doing it for its own sake, which I think is like bad. I would say that's like kind of gross, even a little bit. I think this was. Yeah, and it's like it doesn't have to do with like having no character flaws, right? Like, character flaws are so pog. You know? Let's explore them. Let's do things with them. That would be cool. I feel like we're not doing that enough. For the amount of, like, flawed situations coming up, we're not actually doing things with them. That's what upsets me, right? Funny reading... My take, very unpogged moment for Rudius is real. I've already kind of addressed some of this. This is really good, actually. I believe the curtain at the start for the OP represents the tent back at the end of Season 1. I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. That's definitely what it is. Because, I mean, with the stuff we see inside is this build cup, is it stuff. The opening of the tent flap. I mean, Eris walked through that. He walked out of that after. That's totally... with you 100... I like that a lot. Definitely the tent. He still feels trapped. Not inside a physical tent, but inside his mind. Yeah. Reminds me of something I said a long time ago. I think I said this at the start of the series. That, like, I'm so down with, like, a character growing and blah, blah, blah. And changing and all these things. But if in his growth and folly, he commits horrible things onto others, then I'm going to hold him. Like, that's going to bother, you know, that's going to be something that needs to be addressed, right? Like, if he were to groom Sylphie, then that would have been, like, something that needs to be addressed, right? And, like, you know, that's, like, let's deal with that if we're going to bring that in, you know? And that's kind of the situation with Julie. That's like, I feel like it's trying to say things about Rudy and his despair, which I think is like valuable in a vacuum. That's totally like sick, and I'm down. But in actual application, where like I feel like you have to you have to say, oh, that's not the point, to like everything else in the situation to actually like see anything, and so it becomes like Rudy focused, Rudy centric. Which is something I already feel, like, at least in the anime is an issue in the anime, that everything feels really Rudy-centric. Because the light novel has other POVs, but for the anime, all we get is Rudy. This is who Rudy is and where he stands, a broken man who thinks dying is salvation. He sees himself and not hurt. This is also a point of, like, who thinks dying is salvation. He dies, and then he gets his entire another world, right? Where... he's gotten the chance to live a new life and do all these things. And, like, he's gotten beaten down with that over and over, right? With the, you know, turning point kind of things. Where it's like, you know, it's not like it's been easy or whatever. But, like, I wonder if there's even a route where it's like a... in the same way he had a life that was wasted and then got a chance for a better life. It's like, oh, wow, Julie's living a life that's getting wasted in this cell. Maybe she has a chance for a better life, a.k.a. a new environment. You know? I mean, it's like the same thing, but he doesn't have... I guess you could say, like, Rudy doesn't have any hope in that because his new chance has, like, just ruined him so much. And, like, that's fair. I mean, I think that's fair read for Rudy. I just, like... yeah, I just have trouble... like, this... yeah. Like, I feel like I can see the cooking they're trying to do. I just don't like I don't like the meal. I don't like the meal very much. Like, the meal... they're putting in some crazy ingredients... and it's like, dang, there's a lot of spice in this hoe. Like, you know, maybe chill on the pepper next. Yeah, that's kind of, I feel like, how I am, you know? Where it's like, yo, like, there's a thing called restraint. You know, less is more. Less is more. There's a lot of context for it in the novels, but all of it boils down to him being morally okay with slavery as long as he can detach himself from it, which sucks, but that's how he ended up after all this shit in his life, and I don't want to dig him for it. Yeah, it's like I would like to see just something of it, like him completely just, because he just seems apathetic and non-caring, which feels so weird after the Royjerd stuff. Where like just say something, or else why are we here? Just to show that he doesn't give a shit? Like, okay, it's good to see you high energy and enjoying it again. Oh, no. I was worried when you said you were close to a mental breakdown and had to feel yourself out. We're back. We fell again. We fell again. I do appreciate the support. Hey, I do appreciate the people that are like here for it, you know. It's just whew. Yeah. It's just, man, it's like I feel like that's such a thing for the show where it's like there's different groups of like people that I'm like bouncing back against, right? Where it's like some people are like what Rudy is doing is fine, and then there's some people that's like what Rudy is doing is wrong, but that's the point, right? And I feel like I very much disagree that what Rudy does is fine a lot of the time. Like even considering his situation, like there's still like issues, right? So that's like an entire thing, and then but even if you say like he's effed up, that's the point. Like I feel like I'm not even seeing enough like payoff of him like it's all so internalized, you know. Or like self-centered in a lot of ways or whatever. Bro, I'm getting worn. I don't think the writer's even talking about that in the slightest. Then what? Like, then why is it here, right? You know, like you're throwing in these elements. You gotta cook with the food you put on the table, right? You can't just make a pot pie, throw in the carrots, throw in the potatoes, throw in the chicken, throw in the beef, and say, guess what? When you're eating my pot pie, only judge me on the beef. No, I'm gonna judge you for the chicken. I'm gonna judge you for the potatoes. I'm gonna judge you for the carrots. I'm gonna judge you for the crust, right? If you're gonna bake a meal, you throw in a bunch of ingredients, I'm gonna judge you for all of them. You can't just like cut off the little slice of the edge of the pie and say, "Yep, this is what is actually the important part." Like yeah, you can cut around the mold all you want, but you have to at least admit that there's mold. Please. Yeah. Yeah. But considering we're dealing with people sold as a result of debt, not kidnapping, simply ignoring it wouldn't have changed anything. I don't even want to try to parse through that. Is there any more I won't even say? I thought that was just funny. I like the Lily's call. Addressed this already. I addressed it in the episode previously, but I addressed it again. I agree with this. When I watched the scene, everything felt weirdly normal. Like, of course, he would say that just because he's doing a little better right now doesn't mean these thoughts went away completely. Maybe I'm the one project now, but I hope this offers new perspective on Rudy's mindset. Yeah. It just like yeah, but it just doesn't do much for me at this point because the context is so insane, you know. That it's just like because the context is being written in, you know. Like if we want to have a Rudy like we can change the context and still have a similar like have the theme explored without all the barbed wire and all the mines. Right? We don't have to make it so muddy. We don't have to quagmire everything for like, and then not explore the fields. Like if you're gonna quagmire, take me to the swamp, roll around with me, bro. And I just feel like I'm having to roll around by myself and with people, and then we're just extrapolating and getting outside of the show because the show doesn't want to roll around a lot of the time. With like the full extent of things, it picks and chooses what it wants to roll around in. But then it's like, then why are we bringing in these crazy elements? You know? Yeah. Don't listen to anyone. Speak your truth. Things be flying over your head. Like I see it as it's. I'm seeing it, but I'm getting to the point that I'm losing faith in discussing it. Is more so where I'm at. Yeah. Gender bent Rudy not fits, which is amazing. Bunch of fun references. It's a Onomai, right? Somebody else told me that it was an Onomai reference. I was kind of thinking thinking for a long time like, dang, does this tell us something about Rudy's psyche? Is this like what does this mean, you know? I was like really trying to think of something there, but I couldn't come up with anything. So if it's just a reference to another show, which would kind of be funny because like Rudy can break the fourth wall in that way because he was a NEET, so like for him to make an Onomai reference would be funny. Vice Principal Genius is a King Class Water Mage. Huge. Oh yeah, this thing. Zenoba, guy with only figurines as mine, regretfully talking about his baby brother that he accidentally killed shows massive character growth, as it means he actually cares about his family enough to feel bad about it. It's just massive and beautiful. It's sad that you miss that part. I more so just didn't feel... I saw that it happened, but it didn't do anything for me, right? Like, I don't think I missed it because I, wasn't paying attention. It just didn't do anything for me. We've talked about this before. We talked about this. People told me about that here in 18. Yeah, look at the convenience point. It's just the convenience is continued, you know? Like the convenience just keeps coming back. Was it in this one? We talked about it. Wait. Suzanne Beloved. Mimir moment. No, I think it was in this one. Where we talked about that maybe it was a different one. I don't know. Maybe it was episode 18 as opposed to, or 20. No, yeah, it was Get Me Out of This Town, wasn't it? Sorry. I thought I had it pulled up. Yeah, like right here. Like I've gotten this information already, so it's not like this was new information for me. And we've talked about how like, oh, like him going for figurines because like how that relates to the people being fragile thing. Like we've talked about that before. So for that, like that's why I didn't explore it again, because I feel like we've already hit that point. The point of this being massive character growth, I would disagree with. I mean, because what it is, like, he accidentally killed his baby brother, which is, like, very different than purposefully killing them. So, like, regretting that, I think, I mean, like, this feels very reasonable to me, and I didn't really have a ton of reason to think that he, like, was completely sociopathic. Like, or even then, it's like, okay, so I feel like, I mean, instead of character growth, because that's saying change, right? I would say it's like we're getting more depth to his character, and the depth is he's not a sociopath that doesn't care. He actually does care that he accidentally killed someone. And it's like, okay, cool. That's like kind of baseline though for me, you know? Where like I think most people care about that, right? Even someone as obsessive as figurines, like I would hope that he's not a complete sociopath, and then when we see that he's not a complete sociopath, I don't see that as like a huge moment or anything. It's just like, oh, like that's sweet, like honoring his brother shows that he like wants to do something with that. I mean, that could be positive, and like hopefully, and maybe though, like if he has a really cool like relationship with Julie going forward, that would be pretty sick. That would be pretty sick. Pax should die in a fire. Essentially, it's entirely different as it is essentially a voluntary choice that her family made for themselves. Being forced into slavery physically versus being saddled with so much debt that it's either the streets or slavery, like they're different, but they're not super. Like I think there is some overlap, and I discussed that before, right, with the whole like debt thing. Like, we don't know the context of the debts or kind of how that system works in this world, but I would assume that the family got hoed and then had to do this, or they would die on the streets. So, like, calling that a voluntary choice doesn't, like, it's, like, kind of, but it's like, oh, like, it was either this or death. You had, like, you didn't really have a lot of option there, you know? And it's also, it's her family making that. She didn't make this decision. So, like, applying it to Julie specifically is kind of great, you know, a little wild. The gang is there to purchase a slave. Why are they there to purchase a slave? It's so mundane. Like you know, it's like, kind of bruh. Money isn't infinite, and this isn't a charity orphanage thing, so your solution of buying her and then somehow rehabilitating her while forcing her to work just doesn't click with me in the slightest. For the rehabilitation to even have a chance to succeed, Julie, because it's like he cares enough. I've said this a million times. I think I'm just looping at this point. Hopefully I've addressed how I feel about this enough. Having a naive idea that anyone can be saved or rehabilitated is incorrect. Etc. Like, just the 6-year-old part is, as I've discussed, right, where I think that doesn't for me. Don't you owe it to her to like give her a chance, right? Like, even if she doesn't have the hope, like have the hope for, like in her and for her life that it can be good, and then give it a chance. I think it deserves the chance. Especially considering that I don't think she necessarily understands it. What's going on? Yeah. We've talked about that before. So, that's a big rant. Do I even want to watch an episode? I guess I can. I'm just getting worn. I don't think I'm going to watch it. Like, I don't think I'm going to be, like, ignited to watch it later. And yeah. That's where I'm at. Let me just take a sip of my Dr. Pepper, then we'll watch episode 7. No sip for you. Not this time. Oh, we hoarding now. This is the evil arc, okay? This is the villain criticism arc. Villain criticism arc, okay? Villain criticism arc. And I don't think you're a bad person if you like the show or whatever, right? Like I'm trying, like let me be clear, I'm not making fandom a judgment. I'm not trying to make like fandom judgments. I'm trying to make show judgments primarily, right? But if like you agree with a decision and I disagree with a decision, like you can apply that to me disagreeing with your decision, sure. But like I'm not, I'm trying to just I'm trying to point out the show. Oh jeez. Yeah, I mean, I won't worry about a scroll through. Let's just jump into episode 7. Let's just jump into episode 7. I feel like, because someone did say, like, the Twitter controversy or whatever, like, extended from 6 to 7. So I have a feeling that, like, we're going to just kind of continue with this. It's also funny, like, the other day, well, no, that's a tangent. We won't tangent. I've wasted enough of y'all's time ranting and yapping and yapping. We don't need to keep yapping. Let's just try to enjoy this the best we can. Have a good time. And if some crazy stuff happens, we'll just deal with it as it comes. Oh, let me get my notes up. I literally closed my notes. Okay. Yeah, I was literally swiping through it. I just closed it. No. You need your notations. Episode 7. Let's get this going. In a 3, a 2, a 1. Bang. Dude, the animation is still so fire. I can always praise that at least. Ooh, look at those gemstones. The light through the window. Fit's got a nice room. So you can splash your face. Bro, you don't even need to worry about plumbing if you got water mages. I wonder what % of the population can use magic. Like even like the babyest level water spell. I think people have kind of mentioned that before. Wait. Sophie wearing like khakis. Oh, it's the newsboy look. We saw that the other day. Yeah. Freaking newsboy Sylphie. Fits. Whatever. This is 7, right? Yeah, okay. Newsy. Passing out them papes, bro. Run till failure? I like it. I respect that. He's literally doing it in the background. That's funny. She really says explain it better. Yeah, I like how they're using like the physics, like how like the natural world works to apply it onto the magic, because that's like how Rudy taught it, right? Yeah. She got such a big crush right now on Rudy. What's good, Luke? Oh, that's kind of fun. Fun lore. Yeah. Okay, dude. Are you gonna think about Rudy being experienced from last episode? Yeah. Oh no, Sophie. Paul reference. Yeah. The longing. Yeah, you're longing so hard right now. Especially because that's a connection to the past, right? Because she got that way back in like episode 3. Good question. Hello? Are you about to do something with that wand? Yeah, okay. I was like, is that what you're doing here? No, you're just blushing. No, wait, are you just feeling some kind of way? You're okay. I think she's just blushing. I was about to say you better not do anything crazy with that wand and selfie. I mean, you can, I guess, but I thought that's what they were doing there. Oh, Sylphietti. Oh, Sylphietti. What are you gonna do? You haven't told him anything yet. Like, I'm kind of waiting for that shoe to drop, you know? The drama, the drama. Them love triangles, them love triangles. With, like, Ariel, right? Well, I guess Ariel and Sylphie, I don't know how close that even is anymore. Probably not that much. They haven't really talked about it, so... I guess we're kind of chilling on that front. Brain, can we just get Soldat back? I love Soldat. Soldat was so based. Freaking Julie. What are we about to do with you, Julie? What are we about to do with you? Lena Lee's clutching that pendant. Once more, once more. Yeah, and I love seeing the OP as the tent flaps instead. I think that's really solid. Walks back out of the tent. Though it is kind of like that is what episode 23 in season 1 was all about, right? Like him choosing to take that step forward. All right. Julie, how good are you? Make some moves. Hey, she's cracked. Good job, Julie. Love, yeah. What is she doing? Oh, she's doing the cleaning thing, bro. Wait, that's actually funny. He's taking great care of her. Aww. We're good slave owners. She's my apprentice. Okay, well, okay, I like that. I actually like that. If you're treating her as an apprentice rather than a slave, that's good mentality. That's good mentality. Okay, just kidding. What's happening? The Ruijerd figurine. Whoa. He lost it? Sucks. Whoa, what do you mean liar? Whoa, did you break it? You broke it? Did you finally break one? Your super strength? Oh no, it's gonna be in pieces, bro. Oh no. Sonoma, deep breath, deep breath. Julie says, get me out of Dodge, get me out of Dodge. Wow, she hides behind Zenoba. A duel? That was rude. They're mean. They're mean. You wagered it? And they broke it? That's so mean. Wait, they suck. Wait, what were they wagering? What were they wagering? What were they wagering? Yeah, he ain't got a... He's scary, he's scary. Oh, wait, there are enemies now. Okay, okay. I mean, he did wager it. Well, they probably. Oh, wow. Big callback. Yeah. Yeah, okay. You really. Wow, look at that Rudy pose. Look at the pose. What are meow looking at? Yeah. What do you smell? Aggressive intent? Bro. She actually did. Bro, Linnea sucks. Well, he did wager it. Well, were they. Yeah, I mean, if they ganged up on him and dueled him when he was fresh, that is their fault. That is a pretty bad move on there. Like, that's. Yeah. Dang. Got you, got you. We model students. Damn, he pulled out the racism. Big racism, if true. Oh, wow, the fountain stopped. Good move, good move, good move. In terms of gonna make a fight happen, like that's good escalation. What's your move? She's about to do a scream move. Yeah, good thing you're super. What was that? Oh, dust smoke, so she couldn't scream properly. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're just outclassed. You've, yeah. Bing, 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 bing. Bing, 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 bing. Instead of blue, purple, or whatever it was last time, pale blue. Quagmire. Yeah, Julie was just. Julie helped tie him up. Wow. Paul and Eris were freaking smacked, bro. You're literally one of the strongest people alive, bro. Hopefully, yeah, I mean, now's the time to figure it out. What are y'all about to do with them? Wait a second. I gotta remember what show I'm watching. Yeah, what are we about to do with these tied up, like, maybe I can get your ED. Yeah, you're talking about your ED? Try the other one? Oh, is that it? He like, oh dang, that just like packs though. He just like packs. And that's what Zenoba thinking, Loki. Oh, that was it? Okay. I guess. Could have been worse. I wonder if he didn't have ED, if he would have done something different there. Probably not. Hopefully. Nothing that crazy, right? Let's see. Oh, here it comes. Here it comes. You're showing him the holy relic? You destroyed my holy figurine. Julie's crying, bro. You throwing her under the bus? Persona just rolled her, bro. Oh my goodness. Oh, they're fighting against each other. Oh, Cope, no, you stomped it. Wow, wait, you joined though. You said that in English. Don't say shut up in English. That's my language. Nah, you can say it in English. That was funny. We? What do you mean we? Isn't it just you? But okay. Yeah, I met them. We're freaking. I mean, handy dandy. Like, y'all got nothing to use on me. Because I'm freaking saved your entire village and you didn't know. Yeah. Oh, because throwing the water is, like, bad for their fur, right? Dude, Persina, what is wrong? You suck, Persina. Yeah. Oh, and this is my sacred thing. I got you. I got you. Eye for an eye. He go in eye for an eye mode? Question mark. Yeah, how are they gonna do that? Yeah? Bruh. Wait, what happened? What'd you do with them? Oh, they're still locked. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, it was for the point of sexual reasons, but to experiment if it would work. Like, yeah, I mean, kind of, but also kind of not. Like, I get it. Real. What you got, Sophie Eddie? Fitzy. Oh, did they pee themselves? Wait, what is this? Why are they doused in water? Wait, that's so rude. Who? Zenoba? Wait, or did Sophie do that? But who did this? Oh, she hungry. She want that chicken. She want that grilled chicken. Are they wet? Wait, or maybe it's just from their tears and drool. Maybe it's not for anything else. Okay, I thought somebody might have thrown water on them. Are they stripping? Wait, did they pee themselves? What happened exactly? Yeah, nothing. No Kronker action. Okay. Thanks for that, Persina. Mine aren't cheap. Yeah. Them placers are cheap, exactly. You did completely roll and smoke them in a fight. I mean, yeah, feed your prisoners, bro. Mmm. 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 Wait. You're gonna be mean to Fitz? Ooh, you're escalating. Yeah, yeah. That's not gonna make Rudy happy. Good Fitz defense. Good Fitz defense. What? What? What does that say? You like tattooed him temporarily? The right incantation will make it permanent. What does it say? Oh yeah, okay. Tattoo magic. Sick. What's the tattoo of? Oh, she just looks really ugly. Okay. Public shame. Public shame. Oh. Yeah. It's called getting a demon eye. It's called getting a demon eye, bro. It's called Keisha Rika and Man God gave me a buff. Hey, we chilling. No, but actually, no, that's actually true as well. He did get training from, like, Paul got training from Ghislaine. Yeah, now, you're only now? Okay. True. They probably don't know about the good parts of her, right? That she's better now? I mean, because that was new. That was, like, a new thing for the squad. So I don't know if, you know, how they feel about that. No, that was good, Fitz. That was totally fine. That was funny. Were you lying? It's probably a lie. Yeah. You sneaky little rat. It's kind of smart. A Roxyite? A Roxyite. Wow. Roxy's gonna meet up with Rudy again one day and be like, "You're a what now? I'm your god?" When did that happen? Though, yeah, it's like the tenets that he learned from her as opposed to necessarily her herself, you know? But we'll see. Yeah, you're just gonna. They gonna do it? No. Whoa! She read his thoughts. Not like literally, but. Dang! Wait, this is kind of crazy. Is it gonna be enough? Is it gonna be enough? Is it gonna be enough? Oh, she's scared. Ah, she gave up. Close, close. Couldn't quite commit. No, she immediately leaves. She was trying to build up to it, couldn't commit. That's okay. That's sweet. Good old Fitz. I like Fitz. Good question. The kidnapping and confinement of Beast Girls. What a summary. What a summary of the episode. Dang, that one went quick. What the heck? That went mad quick. We just did a little bit of grabby grabby and then a little bit of face paint. A little bit of Fitz almost opening up but then not being able to full commit. Which, you know, we've talked about that before. Shy. Shy Fitz. Shy Fitz. Um, I do one thing. Something I thought about the other day was like Fitz gender identity. Um, if that's like at all going to be like a thing for her character, because like I say her, right? Like I assume that the he thing is purely a mask, but I'm curious how Fitz slash Sylphie views that. Like if it's a deeper thing for them. Um, as I could see the case where like Fitz became a lot more comfortable, like being called like a dude, like you know, like they could play with that. Like this feels like a place to play with like gender identity or something because Fitz is like masquerading as a boy and like known as a boy and like blah blah, blah like etc. etc. Um, so I mean that would be really interesting. I'm not sure if they're gonna go into it though because I don't know. I feel like I haven't like we can kind of make some assumptions that maybe that's part of why Fitz is so afraid to take off the shades, right? Like because I mean, it is like connecting the past with the present once more, and like that old you that you used to be, like the Sylphie self. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, that was a fine episode. Um, Sophie, this was, I mean, wasn't this part with her running? Like, I think we saw that last episode, or I think we saw her running as a freaking newsboy, like in the background and just like fit. Um, what a funny outfit. A little bit of magic knowledge. Gor. No toast blood. Thinking about Rudy. Thinking about Rudy. Thinking about Rudy. I mean, what? You're blushing a lot here. What are you doing there, Sylvie? You know what? Speak your truth. Oh yeah, we got some Julie training, and then the Beast Girls, and then back to Fitz. Okay, so Julie training. This is like a classic. This is a classic thing. The freaking like running with the rag. I've seen that before. That's funny. I think it, so. They explicitly said like Zenoba's like really treating her, or like really like they're really bonding. And I mean, we're even seeing like she says love with Rudy. Just so wild that he was willing to kill her if she said so. It's just like it's crazy. Like the relationship is built on such a crazy foundation, you know. But yeah, and then she's just there was like that thing of like, what did you say about Zenoba here? Oh yeah, but he's taking great care of her. Let me get the full thing. Julie is a smart girl. I thought figures were all Zenoba cared about. Oh, but he actually cares about her. That's sweet. That's sweet. I mean, I would say he also cares about you, Rudy, right? Like, and I know you're connected to figurines, but so is she. Like, he does care about Rudy as, like, his master, and I would say that goes at least a little bit beyond just being good at figurines, right? Because, I mean, as much as she's also being raised as figurines and is, like, intimately tied to that for him, like, I feel like there's a kind of a connection made where, like, his relationship to Rudius and like, him also him caring about Rudius and then also caring about Julie, you know? Though it's, of course, really different where it's, like, more of, like, a little sister thing for him. I'm glad that he's treating her well. Oh, look, he's even doing the exercise with her, even if he does, even if he fails at it. I wonder if he's trying to do it. That would be at least a Zenoba redeeming too, because like I kind of had the thing where it's like, bro, I thought Zenoba was here at the school. Like, if he's here, I know he was here for the reason of like the political reasons, but like, what are you doing here? Are you studying something? I thought he was like studying figurine stuff and making some progress on his own. But so then for Rudy to show up and then he's made no progress in making his own figurines, it's like, bro, what have you been doing for the last 2 years or however long it's been, you know? So maybe he's still attempting to like do that now that he has like the Rudy guide. So that would be cool, and that would be a Zenoba W. Or he's doing it for like her mental, which is also a W. So I appreciate him here. Julie isn't a slave though; she's my apprentice. Yeah, and I like that. Treat like raising her as an apprentice rather than a slave. Though. It's still a little sus. I don't know. Like, it's hard to just take that fully at face value, considering that it's not like she has another option and she's 6 and impressionable, blah blah blah. But like, yeah, I mean, I think that's a W more than. I mean, that's better than treating her as a slave and calling her a slave, right? And it's also like a callback to his relationship with Roxy, being her apprentice. Yeah. This was just kind of a little like, and then okay, so the Roxyism or whatever we called it. It's the very likeness of my deity. I don't even know what to say. I don't know if I have anything to say on that one. I'm taking it just kind of as it comes at that. Like, it's speak your truth, I guess, Rudy. Like, you know, you know, she's really important to you. The values, very important. You know, make it religious. Like, fully convert. Like, you know, like, fully lock onto that. I mean, you could even say like now that the ED is stricken and like so much has changed in his life that like this is kind of how he's pivoted. That he's pivoted to making it into more of like a deeper religious tenet thing. And it's just like, okay, like, yeah, I think that's good. It feels a little troll, but I think he means it pretty much fully, right? I mean, he's treating it as a holy relic. He's showing it to people as a holy relic and like as a thing. Like, he's still claiming himself a member of Roxyism as opposed to the Millis thing. Bro, did I don't think Sylphie got that because he said that to Sylphie, right? So that's kind of like, how much did Sylphie know of Roxy? Because that'd be kind of funny. Yeah. Good call on the mana thing too. Yeah, the religious thing, I don't know. I just gotta take that. I think that's fine. I think that's a reasonable, like in its own way, kind of weird, but like, I mean, Rudius is kind of weird, right? So like, it's very on brand for Rudius, but then also seems, you know, like I can appreciate taking things seriously like that, right? Like making it into a religious thing, I can appreciate. It's just, you know, it's done Rudy style. It's done Quagmire style. All right. We kidnap 2 girls, put them in a room, do just a little bit of molestation, just as a test. It feels nice, but I'm not that turned on. I mean, at least he didn't like go further. Let's think. Yeah, because like previously in like with like Eris way back in episode like 9 or 10, it was like he was doing that just straight up bad girls deserve punishment like for sexual gratification, and here he's doing it because he's told by Man God that this is the place to fix his ED, so he's like, well, like let me just test out if this fixes it, you know. So yeah. I'm not like, this isn't like too, like, this is light work compared to where we've been, okay? This is light work. And he's saying crazy lines. It's just like, part of, you know, I await my newborn son's first cry of joy, but hear only silence. I mean, it's a funny line. You know, it just is what it is. I wanted to check something. So she's like, oh, it's not for sexual gratification. I mean, yeah, like, it wasn't, but it was for the point of a sexual thing. But it's also kind of, like, in one way, even, like, I would say the ED's, like, as much as it's sexual, it's also just straight up, like, my body is not acting in the way that, like, feels proper. Like that itself, I think, it would be, like, mentally worrying in a level that's even beyond, like, I won't be able to do, like, sexy sex things, you know? It's like, oh my goodness, like, this is wrong. Like, I feel like this is wrong, you know? And especially for someone like Rudy, that's been, like, such a large part of their character. I don't know. Reasonable enough. I don't worry about that. That doesn't hit me too bad. So what happened here? Did they pee themselves? I mean, he's holding his nose. It was probably urine, right? And it was only waist down. That's a bit... Why? Because I saw the wetness and I was like, oh, is this a callback to like the throwing on water is like a thing and like maybe Zenova took it in his own hands? No, they just pissed themselves. At least uncuff us so that we could like, you know, give us a chamber pot, bro. Yeah, that's a bit like, okay, dude. Freaking nuts. Dude, just Fitz, just Rudy's air conditioning it, bro, and Fitz is just holding it, just like, bruh. Yeah, okay. That's my answer. Yeah. And then this is done this is also done kind of gag-like, you know, but it's, I don't know, it's also, I don't know, I'm not too, this didn't bother me too much. I'm pretty chill on this one. Like you know, yeah. This is, yeah. If people made it this far, then I don't think this should be a breaking point. I think they should have broken long ago, okay? If you made it this far, then you should be pretty, like, I don't know why you'd be freaking out about this specifically. I think there's there's other things that you would get caught on before something like this. I mean, the pee thing's, that's a bit of a bro moment. Where it's just like, okay, like, but why? Just to give another chance for him to clonker, but then he doesn't clonker, and just for kind of like a meme, and it's just like, oh, like, haha, you're embarrassed. Like, I don't know, like, okay, dude. And just straight up like a sex appeal angle too. It was just like, I don't know. It's just whatever. I ain't got much, bro. I ain't got much. Fitz Fitzy Fitzy, you should just say it. It's not gonna get easier, bro. I mean, I totally get why it would be like a big thing, given that your entire life has been, since, you know, for the last handful of years since the Mana Cataclysm, has been Fitz, you know? So to go full Sophie mode and fully integrate that back into your persona is like a big deal, and like a big structuring of yourself. Hence why gender identity, I think would be a really cool thing to bring in, with her character, his, her, their, whatever. Like, I'm just kind of going baseline her because right now my kind of what I think it is, just because of like lack of other you know reasons, is that it's like the Fitz persona as like a male persona is purely a mask that's used, as opposed to being something that is also kind of assimilating into how Fitz views themselves, how Sophie views themselves. But I mean, it's interesting. It could go that way for sure. I'd be super down with it. And I'd be like, yeah, I'd be really happy to explore that. But I'm just gonna wait for the show to bring it up before I like spin off on it, you know. It is funny that they're Beast Girls specifically. Maybe, bro, it's crazy, bro. Minitona's sister. Minitona's sister, bro. In the ED, they're like so chill with each other. She really, I mean, they took it on the chin. They're like, hey, you know, could have been worse. Could have been worse. Man, Julia just being so, like, she's just acting like a normal little girl. And, like, isn't she? Just looking for, I mean, she's extra looking for approval and such, you know. But she seems to be doing, like, she's, like, latching onto this, her support that she's getting around her, which totally makes sense. It's just, the flowchart of her character is so crazy to me. Introduced with a very heavy theme of assisted suicide, like, etc., right? That she affirms that she, like, desires to be alive, and Rhodey accepts that. And then immediately we have the dinner scene, right, where we're like we're feeding her a bit, and then we actually get to know, like, her lack of a name, and then we name her, and now it's just like boom, like, she's being treated as like a little sister or whatever, like, whatever the term, little disciple, I think, junior disciple, I think it was for Zenobe. So, I mean, that's, like, cute. It just is, the flow chart for her character is so wild to me that, like, we've kind of, I don't know, moved past those other elements so quickly. But perhaps they'll come back. I mean, does she, maybe, like, it'd be, like, I don't know, like, a scene of her, like, having a nightmare about, like, her previous containment, and then somebody, like, comforting her, you know? Like, something like that to just kind of, like, keep it going, I think could be cool. But, you know, who's to say? I mean, we'll just see if it happens. We'll just see kind of what they do with her. Because at this point, I mean, she was kind of just a cute, used in the gags a little bit, etc. Rudy is so strong. He literally is so OP, bro. He's so OP. The freaking Demon Eye makes him so cracked. Could he beat Ruijerd as he is now? How possible is that? Am I starting to spit off into insane territory to say that he, like, what chance would he have of beating, like, Ruijerd? Probably, Ruijerd would probably just close the distance way too fast. He wouldn't have time to, like, get out of dodge, and then he would get run through with a spear, even with the extra Demon Eye thing. Like, he'd probably still lose, but I feel like the gap's closing. Or, maybe I don't even know, because, like, incantationless magic is so different than normal magic when it comes to, like, a 1v1 type situation. So, yeah. Why was the urine that color? It was clear. Dang, they were well hydrated. Run it back one more time. It's like, why is it like white clear? Dang, they were well hydrated. Also, was it? This is random. Maybe he was holding his nose because it had like a cat. I have cats, right? Cat urine, like, litter boxes, has like a distinct smell. I wonder if that's a thing. Is that in the world building? Huh? Do the different races have different smelling urine? Or is that unhinged for me to say? It's kind of unhinged. It is kind of unhinged. I'm just, him holding his nose made me think of, like, the color of it made me think, like, I wonder if it's unique from a person. But also, yeah, kind of random. But I don't know. Bro, don't leave them in their room like that all the time. Holy crap, that's rude. But also, I guess you were get onto them for bullying Zenoba, kind of. But like bullying, I mean, they're mean to Zenoba, and I guess we could try to tie that back to Rudy bullying. Like you know how he's like extra, like that's really what's getting him fired up. But a lot of this is being done in the name of the Roxy stuff, which I would hope is kind of more of like I feel like the tie to the bullying is like extra powerful, but I don't know. Holy crap! That shot of Zenoba. Look at his hair. Oh my goodness. His hair when he's running. Look at him go, bro. Wait, if he got his hands on her, he would die. What is he, a grappler? She would die. He would break her. Got quagmired. And then one shot with a stone. Yeah, Julie. Help us tie him up. Help us tie him up. Yeah, and she's really close to Zenoba now. Yeah. On to the next. On to the next episode. Woo! Mushoku Tensei. A Jealous Imagination. That's all I got for this one. Episode 7. Of course. I mean, yeah, this episode was... I like this one more than last episode, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, it was a lot more lighthearted with how it was going. So like, I have a lot less issue with things when they're lighthearted, right? Well, it depends. It depends, but yeah, I mean, I like this episode more. Curious what we're gonna. I mean, Fitz is the thing we're building up to, like, and the teleportation stuff. Hopefully, we'll get some info on that pretty soon. But yeah, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What is that? 5 more to go. Should be exciting. Of course. If you like the video, subscribe if you're new. Blah blah blah. Comment below if you need to say or join the Discord and talk to me other Mushoku Tensei fans there. But until then, until next episode 8, that's all I got right now. I'll be seeing you then. Peace.